Unit 1, Outlook and Behavior. Page 3, Exercise D. Spotlight. Read and listen to two friends talking about a new virus they're concerned about. Notice the spotlighted language.
Did you hear about that new virus going around? Chikungunya?
Chicken what? Oh, you mean the one that comes from mosquitoes?
As a matter of fact, yes. Just like Zika.
We've never had either of those viruses here before.
Well, they say it's due to global warming. All those mosquitoes from the warmer weather. I suppose it's just a matter of time till we get all kinds of new diseases.
You sure are a pessimist. I agree it's scary, but hey, what are you gonna do?
I'm just saying this has started getting to me, and I'm scared. I read that if you come down with chikungunya, you can be sick for a year, or even more.
Right, but they say it's still pretty rare around here. These things are just part of life. You've got to roll with the punches, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, I am. Anyway, I'm not going to the company dinner at that outdoor restaurant. You're just a sitting duck out there with the mosquitoes and everything.
What about just wearing long sleeves and hoping for the best? I mean, how unlucky could you be?
Well, I'm going to call in sick and say I can't go. Better safe than sorry.
Page 4, Exercise A. Vocabulary. Adjectives to describe personality traits. Read and listen.
She's pretty easygoing.
He's quite hard-working.
He's really considerate.
She's quite modest.
He's so outgoing.
She's very trustworthy.
He's pretty serious.
They're really talkative.
Page 5, Exercise D. Listen to activate grammar. Listen to the conversations. Then complete each statement with the gerund or infinitive form of one of the verbs from List 1 and a word from List 2. Conversation 1.
Hello?
Hi, Liz. I just wanted you to know that I'm thinking of painting the bedroom this afternoon instead of doing it on Saturday.
Today?
Yep. Things are a little slow this week at the office. I asked Bill if it was okay, and he said no problem. I'll be home at about 1 o'clock.
Are you sure we have enough paint?
Actually, no. I'll pick some more up on the way home. Better safe than sorry.
Conversation 2.
Is Jack in?
Yes, he is. He's in his office.
Do you think he'd mind my going in? I need to talk to him about something.
Probably not. What's wrong? You sound worried.
Well, I spilled coffee on my keyboard and it's not working. I'm afraid Jack's going to be really angry.
Jack? I wouldn't worry about it. Jack's pretty easygoing. He doesn't let a lot of stuff get to him.
Conversation 3.
What on earth are you doing?
What do you mean?
Don't you have a math test tomorrow?
Yeah, but I'll study for it in a little while. I'm just watching this movie. It'll be over soon.
But, honey, it's already midnight. You have to get up early in the morning. I'm surprised at you. You're usually more serious about your studies.
I just want to see the end. It's almost over.
Conversation 4.
What would you rather do? Work in an office or at home?
Me? In an office. No question.
But you have to get dressed up if you go to an office.
True, but I always get more done there. And there's nothing wrong with putting on nice clothes. If I work at home, it's just a matter of time till I start doing laundry or making lunch, and instead of getting my work done.
Conversation 5.
I'm so sorry. I was a little rude last night during dinner.
You were?
You didn't notice? You were telling me about your problems with your parents, and I hardly said a word.
Oh, it's all right. I just needed to get it off my chest. It's the same old problems.
Well, what are you going to do? Your parents aren't ever going to change.
I know.
But I could have been more sympathetic. I think I was just tired and I kind of checked out.
Conversation 6.
What's wrong? You look like you just lost your best friend.
Really? Well, actually it's no big deal. I'm just a little down today.
How come?
Well, my boss is going on vacation next week. So she tells us today that we have to have a meeting late on Friday night so she can tell us everything that needs to get done next week. But I had already made plans to have dinner with Amy on Friday.
Well, that doesn't sound so bad. Can't you just make the dinner a little later? I'm sure Amy will understand.
I guess. But this is the second time in a month that we've had to work late on a Friday. It's not fair.
Forgive me for saying this, but these things are just part of life. You should learn to roll with the punches. It's not worth getting all upset.
Page 5. Exercise A. Conversation Spotlight. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
So how would you describe yourself?
Me? Well, I'd say I'm pretty easygoing. I don't let things get to me.
Easygoing? I see you as serious.
You think so? I don't see myself that way. In any case, can't you be both easygoing and serious?
I guess. And how would you describe me?
You? I see you as pretty outgoing.
You do? Why do you say that?
Because you tend to be talkative and you seem to like being with people a lot.
Page 6. Exercise A. Grammar Spotlight. Read how these 4 people describe other people's behavior. Notice the spotlighted grammar.
My manager, Chris, is a real sweetheart. He wants all of us to succeed, and he encourages us to learn new skills so we can move up in the company. He's also really kind and understanding. He permits us to work at home when we have a sick kid. You'll never find a better boss than Chris. Sarah Beth Linehan, 30, Melbourne, Australia.
I share an apartment with 3 roommates, but one of them, Erica, is an annoying pain in the neck. First, she's a total workaholic. Between her studies and her after-school job, she's rarely here, and when she is, she just keeps working. My other 2 roommates and I do all the chores, shop for groceries, cook, wash the dishes, and so on. When we complain that Erica's not pulling her weight, she just asks us to do her chores because she doesn't have time. Time? It's time for her to move out. Martina Braun, 21, Frankfurt, Germany.
My colleague Lily at the travel agency where I work is a real people person. Most of us prefer to do everything by email or online, but Lily invites all her clients, even the difficult ones, to come into the office and tell her their dream vacation ideas. And she tries to make those a reality for them. And Lily's such a team player. If one of us has too much to do, she offers to help. Everyone loves Lily. Cindy Yu, 27, Boston, USA.
I'll never forget my high school drama teacher, Mr. Mellon. He was such a tyrant. He used to force us to say our lines over and over until it drove us crazy. And if anyone forgot even one word, he would forbid them to go home until they had learned the line. He would warn them to learn every line perfectly by the next class or they couldn't be in the play. Everyone hated him. He took all the fun out of drama. Richard Rowan, 43, St. Louis, USA.
Page 6. Exercise C. Listen to classify. Listen to people describe other people's behavior using noun and pronoun objects before infinitives. Check the description or descriptions of each person according to the opinions expressed. Conversation 1.
Hey, I'm a little worried about something.
What's up?
So they just transferred Margaret from your group into ours, and she's already persuaded us to do this complicated project. I've heard she works around the clock. She comes in early and stays late. But is she going to expect everyone to work as much as she does?
Margaret? No way. She's helpful on projects and she works really well with others, so it'll be fine.
Conversation 2.
Raphael, how's the project going?
Don't ask. I'll never finish all this work. Peter never lets up.
Yeah, he's not exactly an easygoing boss.
You can say that again. He always asks me to work faster. I'm going as fast as I can.
Conversation 3.
Hey, have you met Val's new boyfriend, Tim?
Yeah, I have. Very outgoing. Seems like a good guy.
That's not the impression I got.
What do you mean?
Well, he jokes around a lot.
What's wrong with that? Sounds like a real people person.
Well, his jokes just aren't that funny. He seems to want people to think he's smarter than they are. It's really annoying.
Page 8. Exercise B. Listen for main ideas. Listen. Write the problem discussed in each conversation. Exercise C. Listen for details. Listen again. Circle T, true, F, false, or ND, not discussed. Conversation 1.
Crime is just out of control. You can't pick up a newspaper without there being 4 or 5 crime stories on the first page.
In my opinion, all this crime is a symptom of the whole breakdown in culture. What is the world coming to?
Well, there's not a whole lot anyone can do about crime, is there?
Actually, there is something we can do about crime.
You think so?
Absolutely. We should provide more money for local police, and we should be careful not to tempt criminals. Don't wear a lot of jewelry on the street. Better safe than sorry.
That's true. You're so practical.
Thank you.
Conversation 2.
Have you been reading about that Marburg virus?
You bet I have. I'm checking the news sites like 100 times a day to see what's happening. I think I'm getting a little obsessed. I just can't stop thinking about it.
Well, I don't think that's crazy. It is pretty horrendous. Thousands of people are already sick, and they say it's even more contagious than the flu or Ebola. However, there is some good news. I've heard they're working on a vaccine, and that there might be one next year.
Well, that's good. But you couldn't get me to get on a plane right now. You're just a sitting duck if someone with Marburg gets on. The ventilation systems of planes recirculate the air, and then everyone breathes it in. Very scary.
Conversation 3.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little freaked out about terrorism. I mean, I'm really scared. Every single day some new group pops up. You never know where they're going to strike.
True. These attacks are happening everywhere now.
Yeah. What is going on with this world? It's crazy.
Right. But what are you going to do about it? It's just part of life these days.
That's one way to look at it. But I feel it's gotten so bad that I don't like to be in crowded places. I keep thinking something bad is going to happen, like a bombing.
Well, that's no way to live. I think you just got to keep living and hope for the best. It is what it is.
You're probably right. I guess I'm going a little overboard.
Page 10. Exercise B. Reading. Read the newspaper article, which is based on a true story in the news. What was Phil Cooper's mistake?
Facebook saves the day. Weston. In a painful ending to an otherwise glorious vacation, Phil and Virginia Cooper and their daughters, Miranda and Grace, arrived home without the hundreds of vacation snapshots they had taken. "We'll always have our memories," said Phil. "But no pictures of our family's activities or the beautiful New England scenery and Cape Cod beaches where we spent the last 2 weeks of our summer vacation." Phil has always been a little absent-minded, but this takes the cake, Virginia said with an affectionate smile. We were getting settled in the car for the long drive home, and Phil got out to snap one last picture of the sunset. Then he set the camera on the roof of the car while he got his jacket out of the trunk. Needless to say, the camera fell off the car as they drove off. The family discovered the camera was missing when they got home. Then, Phil suddenly remembered placing the camera on the top of the car. I felt terrible for having been so careless, and was sure the situation was hopeless. Days had passed. The camera would have been lying on the ground through bad weather, or perhaps someone had found it and taken it home, Phil said. The camera case had the Cooper's name and address, but the camera hadn't been in the case. Last weekend, while training for an Ironman triathlon event, Adam Seacrest, 24, spotted the camera along the side of Kelman Road near Barton Beach, Massachusetts. He picked it up, looked for a name, and finding none, stashed it in his car, thinking he would try to locate the owner after his run. Once home, Seacrest turned on the camera and scrolled through the photos. I felt sort of like a snoop, but my spying was purposeful, he said. I was looking for clues to the owner's identity, and I was optimistic that I would find something. Soon he came across a photo of two young girls getting on a yellow school bus with the words Weston, New Jersey on the side. In a burst of creative thinking, Seacrest thought someone might recognize the girls, so he posted the photo on Facebook and urged his friends to share it with this message. Do you know these kids from Weston, New Jersey? I found a camera with this photo in Barton, Massachusetts and want to locate the owner. Please share. Facebook friends shared the photo hundreds of times. It was just a matter of time until it appeared on the Weston community page, and someone recognized Miranda and Grace and called Virginia Cooper, who contacted Seacrest, first through Facebook and then by phone. The camera arrived at the Coopers' house by mail yesterday. Lots of people say social media is a meaningless waste of time, but here's an example of how powerful and useful it can be, said Seacrest.
Page 11. Exercise F. Word study. Adjective suffixes full and less.
Careful, careless.
Hopeful, hopeless.
Meaningful, meaningless.
Painful, painless.
Powerful, powerless.
Purposeful, purposeless.
Useful, useless.
Page 13. Review. Exercise A. Listen to the people talking about their reactions to events in the news. Decide if each speaker is an optimist, a pessimist, or a realist. Speaker 1.
Last night I turned on the news. I wish I hadn't. I can't get over everything that's happening in the world right now. Seems like every time you turn around you hear about another war, natural disaster, poverty, terrorism. It's really depressing, and it's just getting worse. In fact, it makes me want to just give up watching the news altogether. I mean, who needs more reasons to get depressed?
Speaker 2.
On my way into work this morning, I heard this report on the radio. They said the economy is not doing very well. And you can't help noticing that everything just keeps getting more expensive. Food, gas, housing. Of course, all this bad news makes me a little nervous. I've cut down a lot on my spending. I've stopped buying lunch every day at the office, and I've put off buying a new car until next year. But to be honest, I'm not stressing out over it. I mean, things may get better, and if not, well, I'll get by.
Speaker 3.
I read in the paper today that the unemployment rate is rising. A lot of people I know have lost their jobs over the last couple of years. In fact, both of my sons lost their jobs in the same week. But I think it'll work out in the end. My younger son will have time to go back to school and finish his degree, something he's always wanted to do. And my older son, well, I'm sure opportunity will come his way. When one door closes, another one always opens.
Unit 2. Music and Other Arts. Page 14. Exercise B. Vocabulary. Elements of music.
Work with a partner to explain the meanings of the words on the right. Use the survey to support your explanation.
Listen and repeat.
A beat.
A melody.
Lyrics.
A sound.
A voice.
A performance.
Page 15. Exercise D. Spotlight. Read and listen to 3 colleagues discussing what to do after a meeting. Notice the spotlighted language.
Hey guys, we've got a free evening tonight. Why don't we see if there's anything to do?
Good idea. Let me see if I can find something online.
I'm in. Check out E-Tix. They usually have some great deals.
Let's see. Hey, The Phantom of the Opera is at the Palladium. I saw the movie, but I've never seen it live. What do you think?
I saw it back home in Chicago at least 10 years ago. Hasn't that thing been playing for like 20 years now?
At least. I've actually seen it on stage. But I guess I wouldn't mind seeing it again. The music is awesome.
Yeah, it's got some catchy melodies, but the story's nothing to write home about.
Hey, here's something that might be good. It looks like tickets are still available for Swan Lake. That's supposed to be an amazing ballet.
No offense, but ballet isn't my thing.
I can see Paul's going to be hard to please.
Sorry, I don't mean to be a pain. I guess I'm not really in the mood for a show tonight. Maybe there's a museum that stays open late.
Hold on. Here's something that might be right up your alley, Paul. There's an exhibit of modern American art at the Grand Gallery, and they're open late on Thursdays.
Now you're talking.
And what I really love is the location. The gallery is right around the corner from here.
Page 16. Exercise A. Grammar Spotlight. Read the commentaries. Notice the spotlighted grammar.
Over the past few years, I've been going to see a lot of live theater. I've seen some classic but still popular shows like Les Miserables and The Phantom of the Opera.
I couldn't find a parking space.
Recently, I booked a trip to New York, and I've been checking online to see what's playing. I couldn't go to the Big Apple without seeing a few good shows, right? Amy Chen, 18, San Francisco, USA.
I try to get to MASP, that's the São Paulo Museum of Art, whenever I can. Because it's not far from work, I've been dropping by about every month or so to see what's new and visit its excellent library. Lately, I've been exploring the antiques market outside as well. They always have a lot of interesting stuff to look at. Fabiano Vale, 22, São Paulo, Brazil.
Music plays a pretty big part in my life. Lately, I've been using music to wake me up in the morning, get me moving at the gym, and help me unwind after work. Speaking of work, I've been listening to music more during the day, and I've noticed that it actually makes me more productive. Nicole Clarkson, 34, Chicago, USA.
Page 18. Exercise A. Vocabulary. Negative descriptions of music. Read and listen.
The melody is so sentimental. Her lyrics are way too serious. Their music is so commercial. His sound is really dated. Their songs are kind of repetitive.
Page 18. Exercise B. Listen to activate vocabulary. Listen to each conversation. Then complete the description. Conversation 1.
Hey, are you familiar with the singer Jackie Ivanka?
You mean that blonde girl? The one who's been singing since she was little?
That's the one. I've been listening to her a lot lately. She's unbelievable.
I guess, but her music is really not my thing.
Oh, you're not a fan?
Not at all. Don't get me wrong, but everything she sings has way too much feeling. I just find the music kind of silly. It leaves me cold.
Really? I don't get that at all. I find her music really moving.
Conversation 2.
I've been listening to a really cool rock group from Mexico called Maná. They have a really great sound.
Maná? They're okay.
You don't like them?
Not especially. Frankly, they're too pop for my taste. I think they're in it just for the money, not the music.
Who do you like?
I prefer classic rock bands like U2 or Pearl Jam. Artistically, they're way ahead of Maná, in my view.
Okay, now you're talking. I happen to love Maná, but you're right. U2 and Pearl Jam are great.
Conversation 3.
I love Caetano Veloso, don't you?
You've been listening to Caetano Veloso? Wow, that's great.
I have. He's got such an amazing voice. I could listen to him all day.
He's a Brazilian classic. But to be honest, I'm not so crazy about him, even though I am Brazilian.
You're kidding. Why not?
For my taste, his stuff is a little old-fashioned. I prefer listening to more modern singers like Luan Santana or Michel Teló. That's what I really like.
Then I'll check them out too.
Conversation 4.
You know whose music I really love? Bob Marley. He was so great.
Oh, you like reggae?
Crazy about it. It always makes me feel good.
Not me. No offense, but I find it hard to listen to. It's always the same beat over and over again. Every song sounds the same. After a while, it just drives me crazy.
Wow, I don't see it that way at all.
When I hear reggae, I just want to turn it off. I'd much rather listen to pop or rock.
Conversation 5.
Did you know that the actor Anthony Hopkins composes music?
No way! That's amazing. Have you ever heard any of his stuff?
Well, that's why I brought it up. One of his pieces has been going around on social media. There's a video of an Austrian orchestra playing it.
So he writes classical music? Sounds right up my alley.
Well, honestly, it was nothing to write home about. It was okay, I guess, but to tell the truth, I found it kind of depressing. I would have preferred something a little more fun, you know?
Ouch, you're hard to please. Well, at least he's a great actor.
Page 19. Exercise A. Conversation Spotlight. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
Are you as much of a Michael Bublé fan as I am?
Michael Bublé? To tell the truth, I'm not crazy about him.
How can you not like Michael Bublé?
To be honest, what I don't like is his sound. It's so commercial. But you know who I really like?
Who?
Sting.
Sting? I hate to say it, but I find his music a little dated.
Page 20. Exercise A. Vocabulary. Describing creative personalities. Read and listen. Positive qualities.
Gifted. Energetic. Imaginative. Passionate.
Negative qualities.
Eccentric. Difficult. Moody. Egotistical.
Page 20. Exercise C. Reading. Read the short biography. What effect did Beethoven's personality have on his life?
A passionate genius. Born in 1770 in Bonn, Germany, Ludwig van Beethoven started playing the piano before he was 4 years old. Clearly gifted, he had already composed his first piece of music by the time he was 12. When Beethoven was just 16, he went to study in Vienna, Austria, then the center of European cultural life and home to the most brilliant musicians and composers of the period. Beethoven proved to be both a gifted pianist and an imaginative composer. He went on to create his own unique sound and melodies loved by millions. Beethoven is remembered not only for his great genius, but also for his strong and difficult personality. In one infamous incident, Beethoven became so annoyed with a waiter that he emptied a plate of food over the man's head. He could also be quite egotistical, saying once, "There are and will be thousands of princes. There is only one Beethoven." During concerts, if people talked while he was performing, he would stop and walk out. Despite this type of behavior, many in musical and aristocratic circles admired Beethoven, and music lovers were always Beethoven's greatest supporters. This fact did not prevent him from losing his temper with one or another of them. However, because of his talent, Beethoven's friends always forgave his insults and moody temperament. In addition to being difficult, Beethoven was also well known for his eccentric behavior. He had the odd habit of putting his head in cold water before he composed any music. He often walked through the streets of Vienna muttering to himself and stamping his feet. He completely neglected his personal appearance. He had wild hair, and his clothes would get so dirty that his friends would come during the night and replace his old clothes with new ones. What amazed his friends was that he never noticed the difference. Beethoven wrote 2 famous works, Moonlight Sonata and Für Elise, for 2 different women he loved. He was almost always passionately in love, often with a woman who was already married or engaged. Although Beethoven asked several women to marry him, they all rejected him. The most tragic aspect of Beethoven's life was his gradual loss of hearing, beginning in his late 20s until he became completely deaf in his 40s. However, even as his hearing grew worse, Beethoven continued to be energetic and productive. His creative activity remained intense, and audiences were deeply touched by his music. In 1826, Beethoven held his last public performance of his famous Ninth Symphony. By this time, the composer was completely deaf. When he was turned around so he could see the roaring applause that he could not hear, Beethoven began to cry. Beethoven died in Vienna at age 57. 1 out of 10 people who lived in Vienna came to his funeral, and millions of people all over the world have been enjoying his music ever since.
Page 22. Exercise B. Listen for main ideas. Listen to the radio program for descriptions of how the arts are used as therapy. Write the type of therapy that is described by each therapist. Exercise C. Listen for supporting information. Listen to the radio program again and complete each statement. Then explain what the therapist does to achieve each goal. Exercise D. Listen to take notes. Listen to the radio program again. Work with a partner to define these words and phrases.
Good evening. You're listening to WBQX and I'm Andrew Harris. Tonight's broadcast will focus on the benefits of using the arts to help people of all ages. Children, teens, adults, and the elderly. Science correspondent Maggie Curtis has our report.
The arts have been used in a variety of therapeutic situations for some time. In schools, where students might be having trouble with their schoolwork, and in hospitals and nursing homes, where patients face physical and psychological challenges. How do the arts help? I asked music therapist Mark Branch earlier today.
Well, all people naturally have strong emotional responses to music and other art forms. For example, a beat or melody can affect how we feel, depending on whether it's loud and energetic or quiet and soothing. But we also know that music affects us physically. It affects the way we breathe and how fast our heart beats. It even has an effect on our body chemistry, and this can cause our mood to change. Dance has a similar effect on us, especially since it also involves music. In my work, we use both music and dance with our patients.
So what kind of patients have you been working with?
I work with a lot of patients who have intellectual disabilities. These are people with IQ scores of 70 or lower, who learn at a slower rate than most people. This disability also affects their ability to communicate and interact socially. I find that involving these patients in group singing or dancing to music permits them to express their emotions through the music. When one patient is really into the music, others want to join in too. We see definite improvements in their ability to interact with others.
Right now I'm standing with Bruce Nelson, a psychologist who has been using drama therapy, that is, using theater to help troubled teens. Hello, Dr. Nelson.
Hi, Maggie.
So, tell us how drama therapy works.
Well, most of the teens we work with are suffering from depression. That is, many of them have had bad experiences that have left them unhappy and depressed for longer than normal. Perhaps their parents have divorced or they have been kicked out of school. The best thing we can do is offer someone for them to talk to. But as you probably know, even teens who don't have problems can be moody and a bit difficult. It can be very hard to get teens to talk, especially when they're feeling so unhappy. So, in drama therapy, we use role play or drama to provide a safe way for them to act out situations that are similar to their own. Actually, acting out a scene often creates an emotional connection that helps teens express their feelings and talk to a therapist about what's going on.
Isn't role-playing a situation like their own very painful for them?
Sometimes it is, but using theater to focus those feelings is more often a relief for them. They've been keeping their feelings inside for a long time. What I find so rewarding about drama therapy is how much it helps these patients.
Yesterday, I joined art therapist Carla Burgess during one of her visits to assisted living centers and nursing homes for the elderly. I asked her to describe her work.
You know, whether we look at art or create art, we are emotionally affected by art. It reminds us of things that make us happy or sad. Sometimes it even brings up childhood memories. So what we do is we encourage our elderly residents to paint or draw regularly. And we use the art they create for discussion afterwards. We treat each therapeutic session like an art class, so it's a group activity in which these seniors socialize by showing each other their work and talking about it. And I'm always amazed at the artwork they produce. When you consider that many of these seniors have lost a husband or wife, art therapy has a really positive emotional effect on them. Some of my seniors have told me that what they like most about art therapy is the time they spend socializing with others.
So today we learned about 3 different ways in which the arts are used as therapy. Next week, we'll take a look at how some professionals are using the arts to help young students improve their performance at school. I'm Maggie Curtis. Back to you, Andrew.
Page 23. Exercise F. Word study. Using participial adjectives.
Participial adjectives. Amazing. Amazed.
Annoying. Annoyed.
Boring. Bored.
Depressing. Depressed.
Disappointing. Disappointed.
Entertaining. Entertained.
Exciting. Excited.
Interesting. Interested.
Pleasing. Pleased.
Relaxing. Relaxed.
Soothing. Soothed.
Stimulating. Stimulated.
Surprising. Surprised.
Touching. Touched.
Troubling. Troubled.
Page 25. Review. Exercise A. Listen to the conversations about musical preferences. Check the person who doesn't like the music. Listen again and write what the person doesn't like about it. Conversation 1.
Hey, have you heard that new song by One Direction?
You mean that British boy band? Don't get me wrong, but their melodies and lyrics are way too sentimental for my taste.
Really? Have you seen their videos? I think they're really good performers.
No offense, but their music is just not my thing.
Conversation 2.
Did you know that the violinist Vanessa Mae is also an athlete?
No way.
It's true. She's a professional skier. I hope she doesn't stop playing the violin, though. She's really great.
Well, to tell the truth, I've always found her music a little too serious. I guess I'm not much of a classical music fan. I'd like her better if she played more pop melodies.
Actually, that's what she mainly plays now. But I like anything she plays.
Conversation 3.
So what have you been listening to lately?
A lot of opera, actually. In particular, Jose Carreras. He's got an amazing voice, don't you think?
Actually, I'm not crazy about him. But Josh Groban, he's right up my alley.
Josh Groban? No offense, but don't you find him a little too commercial?
Oh, please. You just wish you could sing like that.
As a matter of fact, I do.
Conversation 4.
Were you at the party last night?
Yeah, I was. They played a lot of Lady Gaga. Her music's got such a great beat, don't you think?
Oh, she's okay. But to tell the truth, I find her performances a little eccentric. The weird hair and clothes. Even the dancing is strange.
What? I don't get that. I think she's really talented.
Conversation 5.
I can't believe you like Antonio Carlos Jobim so much. Are you really a fan?
Yeah, I've been listening to his music a lot lately.
But don't you think he's a little out of date?
Are you kidding? I find his songs just as beautiful now as they probably were 40 years ago.
Well, I have to say, his music's a bit old-fashioned for my taste. Don't get me wrong, he was a musical genius, but I'd rather listen to a good rock band.
Unit 3. Money, Finance, and You. Page 26. Exercise B. Vocabulary. Describing spending styles. Listen and repeat.
A big spender.
Thrifty.
A cheapskate.
Page 27. Exercise D. Spotlight. Read and listen to a conversation between a father and son about spending. Notice the spotlighted language.
Dad, check out the smart bikes. Are they cool or what? And there's a place for your smartphone on the handlebars so you can get text. You don't have to look for your phone while you're writing.
You've got to be kidding. Smart bike? Sounds more like a dumb bike. Don't tell me you text while you're riding your bike.
Oops, I shouldn't have said that. What I meant is that I could just stop and take a look.
Look, even if this were a great bike, which it isn't, it's way over our budget. Look at the price. It's astronomical. And what's so special about it except for the ridiculous handlebars, which should be illegal in my opinion?
Well, I can chip in part of the cost. I've saved up a little for a rainy day, like you've always told me to.
Hey, I'm really proud of you for not spending all your money, but this isn't a rainy day. The bike is a totally unnecessary impulse item. They want you to buy it without thinking, and the handlebars are just a gimmick to get you to want it.
But for once, I'd like to be the first person to have something cool, you know?
Well, if you have your heart set on this smart bike, then you'll have to save up and pay for it yourself. But I'll need your word of honor you won't text while you're riding.
Okay, but Dad, by the time I have enough money to buy a smart bike myself, all my friends will have already gotten theirs.
That may be true, but Mom and I won't shell out that much money for this bike even if you do chip in. It's a matter of principle. You know, money doesn't grow on trees.
Page 28. Exercise A. Vocabulary. Expressing buyer's remorse. Read and listen.
It costs so much to maintain.
It takes up so much room.
It's so hard to operate.
It's so hard to put together.
It just sits around collecting dust.
Page 28. Exercise B. Listen for details. Listen to conversations about items people bought. Write the product they're discussing. Exercise C. Activate vocabulary. Listen again. Pay attention to the people's regrets. From what they say, infer the reason for their regrets, using expressions from the vocabulary. Use each vocabulary expression only one time. Conversation 1.
Wow, what a great juicer. That's even big enough for my family.
Actually, I hardly ever use it. It's way too big. I have such a small kitchen.
So why'd you buy it?
I got it on sale at a great price.
Conversation 2.
I see you bought a digital camera. How do you like it?
Well, I might like it if I could figure out how to use it. Truth is, it's a pain in the neck.
What do you mean?
It has way too many features. Believe me, if I had known you couldn't just point and shoot, I never would have gotten it.
Conversation 3.
Hey, I love your new exercise bike. It must be great having one of those.
Well, yes and no.
What does that mean?
I like it, but I guess I'm just a couch potato. I just don't use it enough.
Conversation 4.
What a cool sound system. You just get it?
Yeah.
Look at all those pieces. When are you going to put it all together?
Well, that's a problem, actually. There's so many components, and the instructions don't help at all. Look.
Whoa, that looks pretty complicated.
Had I known how complicated it was going to be, I would have gotten a different model.
Conversation 5.
Love your new car. You must be on cloud 9 driving that thing.
Oh, it's fun to drive, but I'm not so sure it's worth it.
Really? Why?
You wouldn't believe it. Between the premium gas and visits to the mechanic, it's costing me an arm and a leg.
Ouch.
I can't afford to drive it. I probably wouldn't have bought it had I given it more thought.
Page 29. Exercise A. Conversation Spotlight. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
You know, I wish I hadn't gotten that exercise machine.
What do you mean?
Well, I hate to say it, but it's pretty hard to operate.
That's a shame. Can you return it?
It's too late. If only I'd thought about that sooner.
Well, maybe you can sell it.
I'll think about that. Thanks.
Page 30. Exercise A. Grammar Spotlight. Read the interview responses. Notice the spotlighted grammar.
Tell us about your short-term and long-term financial goals and plans.
I've decided to set a long-term goal for myself, to save enough money to buy a new car. By this time next year, I'll have put away enough cash for a down payment. I'm optimistic that I'll be able to afford the monthly payments after that. My short-term goal is to make a budget for my monthly expenses and stick to it. Hana Sung, 28, Incheon, South Korea.
I find it helpful to try to picture where I want to be in the next few years. By next year, if I play my cards right, I figure I'll have gotten a good job as a financial consultant. That's a short-term plan, I guess. My long-term goals? They're still a little up in the air, but my goal is to be financially independent, able to retire if I want to, before I'm 50. Paul Drake, 24, Sydney, Australia.
I'm not a big spender, but my college expenses have been astronomical, and now I'm in debt. My salary from my part-time job helps a bit, but I still had to borrow money from my family, and paying back those loans will take some time. Here's my plan. By this time next year, I'll have graduated. My immediate goal is to find a job and make enough money to be able to put away 10% every month, which I'll use to begin paying off the loans. After I've advanced in my career, say after 4 or 5 years, I expect to have started earning enough so that 10% of my salary will amount to more money. I really hope to have paid back all my loans by the time I turn 30. Sarah Williams, 21, Detroit, USA.
Page 32. Exercise A. Listening warm-up. Vocabulary. Good money management. Read and listen. Good money management.
I live within my means.
I keep track of my expenses. I save regularly.
I always pay my credit card bills in full.
Bad money management.
I live beyond my means.
I don't know where the money goes. I live paycheck to paycheck.
I'm drowning in debt.
Page 33. Exercise C. Listen to confirm content. Listen to 3 calls to a radio financial advisor. Check 1 or more suggestions the host gives each caller. Exercise D. Listen to summarize. Listen again. On a separate sheet of paper, write a summary in 2 sentences of the reason each caller called the radio program. Exercise E. Listen to evaluate. Choose one of the callers. Explain to a partner why you think Mac's advice is good or not. If so, offer another suggestion. If not, offer your own advice. Caller 1.
This is Mac Morgan for Money Matters. Charles from Charleston, you're on the air.
Thank you for taking my call. I've got a problem. I make a good living, but I just can't save any money, and I find it hard to keep track of my expenses.
Believe me, you're not alone, Charles. Tell me more.
Well, I go to the ATM and take out a couple $100s for daily expenses, and after 2 or 3 days, I've spent it all. I always expect it to have lasted longer. I don't think I'm a big spender, but I just don't know where the money goes. And it's true that I regret buying some things that I don't get much use out of. But before I know it, I'm taking out more. My money's always going in the wrong direction. Out of the bank instead of into the bank, if you know what I mean.
Well, here's an idea. First, when you spend money throughout the day, don't spend any of the change.
You mean the coins?
Right. Don't spend any of it. When you get home every evening, put all that loose change in a jar. You'll be surprised at how much you'll have saved up in even a few weeks.
Wow, I never thought of doing that.
Then, at the end of every month, put all that change in the bank. By the end of the year, you'll have put a nice amount in your savings.
That's a great idea. I'll do that. Thanks.
And call me in a year. Let me know what your balance is, okay?
Okay.
Caller 2.
Money matters. Is this Miriam from Miami?
Yes. Thank you for taking my call.
Miriam, how old are you?
I'm 16, and I have a problem, Mr. Morgan. I hope you can help me.
I can try. Shoot.
Okay, my parents give me money for things I need, but I want an allowance.
Why's that?
They're not cheapskates, and they give me enough, so I can't complain. But I hate asking, and I never have any extra to buy things I want. Maybe things I don't really need. All my friends get an allowance, and they don't have to ask their parents for money every time they need something. They get to make their own decisions. I feel like my parents don't trust me.
That must feel bad.
Yeah, and it makes me feel like a baby. I mean, why can't I decide how I want to spend my money? I'm 16 years old, and I'm pretty responsible.
Do your parents have any reason not to give you an allowance?
I'm not sure.
Well, what do they say when you ask them for one?
They say teenagers waste a lot of money and that I might spend it on stupid things I don't need. And they never stop reminding me about things I've bought that just sit around collecting dust. But I feel weird when I'm with my friends after school, and they can buy things from their allowance, and I can't.
Okay. Here's an idea. Explain to your parents how you feel, just like you did to me. Ask them to give you an allowance every week for 1 month and see how you manage it. Tell them you'll keep track of your expenses so you know where your money goes. Then, at the end of the month, show them your records so they can see that you haven't wasted your money.
That sounds like a good idea.
And, Miriam, be thrifty. Don't spend all the money. Stay away from impulse items. Put some of it, even just a little bit of it, in a cup or a bottle to show them that you can save. By the end of the month, you can expect to have won them over. I'll bet they'll be so proud of you, you'll get an allowance from now on.
Thanks. That's great.
Caller 3.
Rosalind from Rochester, speak to me.
Hi, Mac. I'm wondering if you can help me. I'm drowning in debt. I mean drowning.
I'm guessing this is about credit cards, am I right?
Totally. I don't think I'll ever be able to pay what I owe, but I know I have to change.
Well, I'll need some information. Do you pay your credit card bills on time?
I do, actually.
When you say you pay them on time, do you mean you pay them in full or do you pay the minimum? I think I know the answer.
You guessed it. If I haven't spent too much, I pay the month's bill in full, but that doesn't happen often. The truth is that I spend more than I earn, so I never catch up.
Okay, Rosalind. You're not living within your means. Here's what you have to do. How many credit cards do you have?
Maybe 10 or 12?
That's way too many. Decide which two you want to use regularly, okay?
Okay.
Take all the other cards and cut them up.
Cut them up? You mean like with a pair of scissors?
Yes. You can get along fine with just 2 cards. If you're using 10 or 12 cards, you're just fooling yourself because each monthly bill doesn't seem too big. If you add them up, though, they're a whopper.
True.
Then, make yourself a budget and stick to it. Don't charge anything you can't pay for in full at the end of the month. And take as much as you can from your savings and pay off the debt you have now, little by little, every month. Before you know it, you'll have made a dent in that debt.
Well, that sounds like a good plan. Thanks, Mac. I intend to have paid it off in full before I get married.
Good night. And remember, manage your money well. See you next time.
Page 34. Exercise B. Reading. Read about some charities. How would you describe what a charity is?
Charities of the Week. The following non-governmental, non-profit organizations have been among the most popular charities supported by both philanthropists and other generous people over the past year. Both of them have excellent reputations, and both have been shown to use a high percentage of their funds for their work rather than for administrative expenses. They both seek contributions, and you can donate to each one through its website. If you are interested in volunteering your time, information about that can be found on the websites as well. Doctors Without Borders. This well-known charitable organization dates from 1971, when 300 doctors, nurses, and other staff, including journalists, officially formed it. Originally named, in French, Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, it became known internationally in English as Doctors Without Borders. MSF's founding belief is that medical care should be available to everyone, regardless of location. Every year, MSF provides emergency care to millions of people caught in crises in some 70 countries around the world. It offers assistance when catastrophic events such as armed conflicts, epidemics, malnutrition, or natural disasters overwhelm health resources. MSF also assists people who are neglected by their local health systems or who are otherwise excluded from medical care. Coral Reef Alliance. Pollution, overfishing, and rapid development are threatening coral reefs around the world. The guiding belief of the Coral Reef Alliance is that since these problems are caused by humans, they can be solved by humans. Corals are resilient to change, but if subjected to current levels of stress, they are in danger of extinction within a few decades. Coral Reef Alliance volunteers work in partnership with the people and groups who depend on reefs for their survival. They employ a three-pronged approach: reducing threats such as overfishing and poor water quality, helping communities benefit socially, culturally, and economically from conservation, and working directly with the tourism industry to decrease its environmental footprint. If the Coral Reef Alliance is successful, we will be able to enjoy beautiful coral reefs for a long time to come.
Page 37. Review. Exercise A. Listen to the conversations. Then decide which statement best summarizes each conversation. Listen again if necessary. Conversation 1.
Didn't you tell me you bought a new computer table?
Yeah, I did.
So where is it?
Well, I hate to admit it, but I just can't figure out how to assemble it. You wouldn't believe how many pieces there are.
So you're just going to let it sit around in a box collecting dust?
No, I'm going to take it back to the store and get my money back. I shouldn't have bought it in the first place.
Conversation 2.
Hey, you want to go out to dinner?
I don't think so. I'm trying to save money.
I just got a big raise. Come on, let's celebrate.
I'm sorry, but I just don't have the cash right now.
Don't worry about it. It's on me.
No, I couldn't let you pay for dinner.
Forget about it. It's my pleasure.
Thanks. That's really nice of you.
Conversation 3.
Hey, what beautiful new furniture. The sofa is just gorgeous.
Thanks. I'm really happy with it.
It must have been pretty expensive. How'd you manage?
Well, I saved up for it. I put away a little bit every month.
Wish I could do that. Everything's gone by the end of the month. I make a good salary, but I just don't know where the money goes.
Unit 4. Clothing and Appearance. Page 38. Exercise B. Vocabulary. Adjectives to describe fashion. Listen and repeat.
Fashionable.
Stylish.
Funky.
Trendy.
Classic.
Elegant.
Subdued.
Loud.
Page 39. Exercise D. Spotlight. Read a conversation between two travelers in an airport duty-free shop. Notice the spotlighted language.
Roya, could I get your opinion on something?
Sure. What's up?
What do you think of these pants? For a teenager, I mean. Not for me.
The ones with the sequins on the bottom? A bit flashy, don't you think? I think they'd attract too much attention, know what I'm saying?
Funny. To me, they're kind of cute. Maybe a little funky, but not over the top. At least not where I come from.
Well, it may just be a cultural thing, but in my country, no girl from a nice family would be caught dead wearing something as immodest as that. In fact, her parents would never even let her buy them.
Interesting. But you must be right. This has got to be cultural. In the U.S., no one would even give them a second thought. If they had a bunch of holes in them, I'd agree that they were in bad taste.
But they draw attention to a part of the body you don't want people staring at, right?
Well, come to think of it, you have a point. But personally, I think the jeans are pretty cute. I guess customs are different everywhere.
It's not that I think girls and women should always wear frumpy, baggy clothes, but people can be modern and fashionable and still show some self-respect.
Page 40. Exercise A. Vocabulary. Describing clothes. Read and listen.
I've got on a long-sleeved cocktail dress. A bit low-cut, but appropriate. What color? Actually, it's a black and white print.
You should see my costume for the play. I'm wearing a nice dress shirt, like for the office, but I'm also wearing striped shorts and carrying a plaid jacket. Ridiculous and in terrible taste, but great.
Hi, Mom. Dan and I are on our way to the charity ball. It's formal, so I've got on a short-sleeved evening gown in a great solid dark purple color. Dan's got on a tuxedo. I'll send you a selfie.
Adjectives. Listen and repeat.
Long-sleeved. Low-cut. Print. Striped. Plaid. Short-sleeved. Solid.
Formal clothes. Listen and repeat.
A cocktail dress. A dress shirt. An evening gown. A tuxedo.
Page 40. Exercise B. Listen for details. Listen to the conversations. Circle the letter of the illustration that answers each question. Conversation 1.
Myrna, look. Across the street. Can you believe that outfit?
You mean the guy with the purple hair?
Mm-hmm. Are those plaid things shorts? Or are they boxers? Or a bathing suit? I can't tell.
Who knows? And the striped shirt really takes the cake.
Conversation 2.
Honey, take a look at Gina. Doesn't she look cute in that long-sleeved dress for the school dance?
You know, she really does. And I love that high neck on her. She's going to really stand out in the crowd in that. Everyone else will be wearing something trendy, and she just looks classic.
And that light green color is so flattering on her.
Conversation 3.
Check out this dress. Do you think it would be too informal for my presentation at the sales meeting?
I don't know. It wouldn't be terrible on a 20-year-old, but...
Ouch! You know, I think you're right. At our age, we probably should look a little more conservative.
Well, the dark skirt isn't bad, but the top might be a little too flashy.
Okay, I'll try something else.
Conversation 4.
Excuse me, I'm looking for a nice dress shirt. It's for my father.
Were you looking for something in a solid or a print?
Solid, I think. In a light color, maybe pale blue or green.
Short sleeve or long sleeve?
Long, please.
Okay. Step this way, please. We have some nice shirts for you to choose from.
Page 41. Exercise A. Conversation Spotlight. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
Can I ask you a question about the reception this weekend?
Sure. What would you like to know?
How formal will it be? I mean, what kind of clothes are we expected to wear?
Actually, it'll be pretty formal, I think.
So would a nice long-sleeved blouse and a pair of black dress pants be okay?
I think that might be a little underdressed. Most women will probably wear cocktail dresses.
Great. I've got a beautiful cocktail dress I can wear.
Page 42. Exercise A. Grammar Spotlight. Read the article. Notice the spotlighted grammar.
Dressing up and dressing down. Walk around any urban business district in the U.S., and you'll see a majority of office workers in business casual attire. Only a few will be wearing the more formal suits, skirts, and dresses seen in more conservative locations around the world. Business casual style developed in several steps, most people say in the U.S. state of Hawaii. Here's a little history. In 1966, the Hawaiian clothing industry was trying to sell more Hawaiian or aloha shirts. The industry encouraged Hawaiian businesses to let their employees wear these colorful print shirts to the office one day a week on Fridays. But the style became so popular that by 1970 it had become standard dress all days of the week there. The trend spread to the state of California, which has always had less office formality than the rest of the country. There, people called the trend Casual Friday. Later, in the 1990s, the concept got more of a boost, again by the clothing industry. It was during that time that a number of companies began promoting casual khaki pants. Lots of ads showed both men and women wearing them with dress shirts and blazers or sweaters. This look quickly became the new office standard. Some wish the pendulum would swing back towards a more traditional, elegant look. But plenty of other people say this is unlikely. In fact, more and more companies, particularly in the creative and technology sectors, now permit jeans and even T-shirts in the office. Many younger people are used to this look and would resist going back to more conservative office dress.
Page 44. Exercise B. Reading. Read about fish pedicures. In what ways is this treatment risky?
Questionable cosmetic treatments. In this wide world, there's always someone ready to shell out money for a treatment that promises results. Is it safe to let Garufa fish or Dr. Fish exfoliate your feet in a fish spa pedicure, eating away quantities of dead skin and leaving your feet looking sandal-ready? Although fish pedicures are popular in many parts of the world, the governments of a number of U.S. states and at least 2 Canadian provinces have banned the practice, making it illegal to provide this service. Although some experts say there is not much of a serious risk to health, and although no actual illnesses have been caused by this procedure, most bans are based on one or more of the following reasons. Since the fish remain in the pedicure tubs, it's impossible to clean them between clients. Bacteria and other pathogens can build up in the water, and if a client has a cut or break in the skin, these organisms can enter and cause infection. In fact, New York dermatologist Dr. Ria Prasad says, "Today there are so many antibiotic-resistant bacteria that I advise my patients to walk the other way when they see a salon or spa offering these pedicures. Better safe than sorry." The fish themselves cannot be disinfected or sanitized to prevent them from spreading bacteria. Due to the cost of the fish, salon owners are likely to use the same fish multiple times with different clients, which increases the risk of spreading infection. Chin-chin, a species often mislabeled as Garufa and used in pedicures, grows teeth and can break the skin, further increasing the risk. Garufa, on the other hand, are toothless. According to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Gararufa could pose a threat to native plant and animal life if released into the wild in places where it isn't native. Non-native species can reproduce without limit because there may be few natural predators to kill them and control their numbers. And in addition to the harm these pedicures can do to the environment and human health, the fish at a salon or spa must be contained in an aquarium with no natural food source and depend on human skin to survive. In order to get the fish to eat the skin on a client's feet, they must be starved, and this could be considered animal cruelty, which is illegal in many places. The preponderance of evidence leads one to believe that fish pedicures are doubtful at best and dangerous at worst. And public opinion seems to be building against them, with city after city making them illegal.
Fish pedicures? Yuck and double yuck. Just get a nice clean pedicure from a licensed cosmetician. If the hygiene argument doesn't convince you, just think how terrible the experience is for the poor little fishies. Minnie Edwards, biology teacher.
Page 46. Exercise A. Listening warm-up. Word study. Compound words with self. Listen and repeat. Nouns.
Self-confidence.
Self-esteem.
Self-image.
Self-pity.
Adjectives.
Self-centered.
Self-confident.
Self-conscious.
Self-critical.
Page 46. Exercise C. Listen for main ideas. Listen to a university lecture. Then read the statements and choose the one that expresses the main idea of the lecture.
Good morning, class. So, today's woman lives in a time when ultra-thin bodies are in style. When you look at any women's magazine, for example, you see photos of unrealistically thin fashion models. And also, there are numerous articles about diet and exercise tips to help ordinary women achieve the same body type as the models. Our subject today is female self-image and the difficulty of growing up female at a time when society has adopted an impossible ideal. The female ideal has changed significantly in the last century, hasn't it? If you look at fashion magazines from the past, you immediately notice that the fashion models you see in them would be considered overweight by today's standard. For the last 50 years, models have been getting thinner and thinner until finally people have become concerned that models have actually been starving themselves to achieve the super thin look demanded by fashion designers. This is a frightening trend, and this look has now become the standard female body image that girls and women aspire to. Some recent studies have found that a majority of girls and women wish they could look like the models and actresses they see in the media. According to recent studies in the U.S., approximately 75% of women think they are too fat. Girls between ages 11 to 17 say if they had only one wish, it would be to be thinner. Between the ages of 10 and 14, the percentage of girls who say they are happy with the way they look drops from 60% to 29%. And one study of adult women reported that 80% of women are highly self-critical and are dissatisfied with their bodies. 80% of 10-year-olds are on diets. The result of all these negative feelings is that between 5 and 10 million teenaged girls and young women have an eating disorder, extreme dieting or anorexia, that can be dangerous to their health. What can we do to help prevent the negative self-image so many girls and women have of themselves? And what, if anything, can we do to reduce the high frequency of eating disorders among young women? Well, if you're a woman, it's important to increase your awareness that you are being targeted as a consumer group, and that advertisers believe that if you can be made to feel self-conscious about your body, they can successfully promote weight loss and exercise products to you. If you are the parent of a young girl, be aware that as she grows up, your daughter will be bombarded with the same messages over and over again. Implanting a positive message about your daughter's value and attractiveness when she's young will help build her self-esteem and self-confidence. This will make her less likely to accept the messages that are being promoted by the media. And be sure to let your daughter hear you comment on the beauty of women who don't conform to the destructive and unrealistic image of beauty so widely depicted. In next week's class, we'll discuss the impact of media on males, who also have to cope with a similar impossible ideal. Until then.
Page 47. Exercise D. Listen for details. Read the following questions. Answer them, listening again if necessary. Exercise E. Listen to summarize. With a partner, write a summary statement about the lecture.
Good morning, class. So, today's woman lives in a time when ultra-thin bodies are in style. When you look at any women's magazine, for example, you see photos of unrealistically thin fashion models. And also, there are numerous articles about diet and exercise tips to help ordinary women achieve the same body type as the models. Our subject today is female self-image and the difficulty of growing up female at a time when society has adopted an impossible ideal. The female ideal has changed significantly in the last century, hasn't it? If you look at fashion magazines from the past, you immediately notice that the fashion models you see in them would be considered overweight by today's standard. For the last 50 years, models have been getting thinner and thinner until finally people have become concerned that models have actually been starving themselves to achieve the super thin look demanded by fashion designers. This is a frightening trend, and this look has now become the standard female body image that girls and women aspire to. Some recent studies have found that a majority of girls and women wish they could look like the models and actresses they see in the media. According to recent studies in the U.S., approximately 75% of women think they are too fat. Girls between ages 11 to 17 say if they had only one wish, it would be to be thinner. Between the ages of 10 and 14, the percentage of girls who say they are happy with the way they look drops from 60% to 29%. And one study of adult women reported that 80% of women are highly self-critical and are dissatisfied with their bodies. 80% of 10-year-olds are on diets. The result of all these negative feelings is that between 5 and 10 million teenaged girls and young women have an eating disorder, extreme dieting or anorexia, that can be dangerous to their health. What can we do to help prevent the negative self-image so many girls and women have of themselves? And what, if anything, can we do to reduce the high frequency of eating disorders among young women? Well, if you're a woman, it's important to increase your awareness that you are being targeted as a consumer group, and that advertisers believe that if you can be made to feel self-conscious about your body, they can successfully promote weight loss and exercise products to you. If you are the parent of a young girl, be aware that as she grows up, your daughter will be bombarded with the same messages over and over again. Implanting a positive message about your daughter's value and attractiveness when she's young will help build her self-esteem and self-confidence. This will make her less likely to accept the messages that are being promoted by the media. And be sure to let your daughter hear you comment on the beauty of women who don't conform to the destructive and unrealistic image of beauty so widely depicted. In next week's class, we'll discuss the impact of media on males, who also have to cope with a similar impossible ideal. Until then.
Page 49. Review. Exercise A. Listen to the conversations about fashion and style. Choose the adjective that best summarizes each speaker's point of view. Conversation 1.
What magazine are you reading?
Metropolitan. Want to have a look?
Do you mind?
Not at all.
These purses are fantastic.
Which ones? Oh, yeah. Everybody's getting those now.
I've got to have one.
Better hurry before they go out of style.
Conversation 2.
Hey, Jim. Hey, Carl. Whoa, that's some jacket you've got on.
Oh, yeah. It's my look at me jacket.
It's very yellow.
Hey, yellow gets attention.
Okay, if you say so.
Conversation 3.
Oh, look at that. I don't believe it.
Where?
That kid over there. What on earth has she done to her hair? What is she, 13?
Sounds about right. Oh, that hair.
I just can't believe it.
Me neither.
Conversation 4.
Mr. Spano, how can I help you today?
I want to get my wife something, nice for her birthday.
Of course. What did you have in mind?
Well, actually, I was thinking about, a nice dress.
Oh, I see. Are you thinking about a party dress?
Sounds good.
May I suggest this simple black silk dress?
Nice. Very tasteful.
Very nice. I think your wife will find it very attractive.
Yeah, I like it very much, but I want to look around, see what else you got.
Conversation 5.
Stacy, thanks so much for coming over to help. You're a real friend.
Hey, I understand. It's hard to clean out your closet alone.
Okay, let's start with this blouse.
Alrighty then. Hold it up so I can see it. Whoa, when did you get that?
Must have been about, maybe 8 years ago.
I think that one can go.
Toss it?
Yep, no one's wearing that anymore.
Unit 5. Communities. Page 50. Exercise B. Vocabulary. Types of locations. Listen and repeat. Then, with a partner, write a definition for each of these location types.
An urban area. A rural area. The suburbs.
Page 51. Exercise D. Spotlight. Read and listen to a conversation between two former colleagues. Notice the spotlighted language.
Hi, Luis.
Bill? What a surprise.
I just wanted to see how you're doing. How's your new place? You and Lourdes must be all settled in by now.
Pretty much, but city life sure takes some getting used to.
In what way?
Well, for one thing, not only do we have to deal with bumper-to-bumper traffic every day, but it's almost impossible to find on-the-street parking.
Yeah, that is a pain. Hey, what about your building? How's that worked out?
Pretty well. It's safe and well-maintained. But to be honest, it's been a mixed blessing.
What's the problem?
Well, it's the neighbors on our floor. Whenever they hear someone get off the elevator, they look out their door to check who it is. I don't mean to sound unfriendly, but I wish they'd mind their own business.
Well, I'm sure they mean well. You should look on the bright side. It's good to be in a building where people look out for each other.
That's true. We're very lucky. And I have to say, I've fallen in love with the neighborhood.
That's great.
It's really got a lot to offer. We're never bored. Sometimes we go out for coffee and just people watch.
Well, all in all, it sounds like things are going well.
They are. Hey, give my regards to Judy, and let me know if you're ever in town.
Will do.
Page 52. Exercise A. Word study. Using negative prefixes to form antonyms. Listen and repeat. 1,
Acceptable. Unacceptable.
2,
Considerate. Inconsiderate.
3,
Polite. Impolite.
4,
Proper. Improper.
5,
Respectful. Disrespectful.
6.
Responsible. Irresponsible.
Page 53. Exercise A. Conversation spotlight. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
Do you mind my smoking here?
Actually, smoking kind of bothers me. I hope that's not a problem.
Not at all. I can step outside.
That's very considerate of you. Thanks for asking.
Way is to soften an objection. Listen and repeat.
I hope that's not a problem.
I hope you don't mind.
I hope it's okay. I hope it's all right.
I don't mean to inconvenience you.
Page 54. Exercise A. Grammar spotlight. Read the interview responses. Notice the spotlighted grammar. What are some of your pet peeves?
Well, it really bugs me when people cut in line at the theater. They should either arrive early enough for a good seat or wait in line patiently like everyone else does. Who do they think they are? Jean Sayeti, San Francisco, USA.
I'll tell you what really gets to me. I can neither tolerate nor understand people's littering in public places. Do they really expect others to clean up after them? That's just so inconsiderate. Either they should throw their garbage in a trash can, or they should hold on to it till they find one. Ken Becker, Philadelphia, USA.
It really gets on my nerves when people spit on the street. Not only do I find it disgusting, but it's also unhygienic. It's important to think about public health and other people's feelings. Nancy Shen, Shanghai, China.
Here's a pet peeve of mine. I hate it when people forget to turn off their phones during a lecture or workshop. Not only is it distracting to the speaker, but it's also annoying to the audience. They should either have the courtesy to turn their phones off or simply leave them at home. It really ticks me off. Paula Costa, Salvador, Brasil.
Page 56. Exercise B. Reading. Read the interview. Do you agree with Miller's advice?
Don't let urban crime spoil your visit. Since the beginning of the century, there has been a steady increase in the number of foreign visitors to the great cities of the world. In this interview, travel writer Hannah Miller suggests ways for visitors to avoid becoming victims of urban crime. You claim that tourists are particularly vulnerable to criminal activities. Why is that?
Well, for one thing, tourists are more likely than local people to be carrying large sums of money or valuables such as jewelry and electronics. They are also out of their comfort zone, being unfamiliar with local customs or places that should be avoided. Because they're enjoying themselves, tourists are more likely than locals to let their guard down, thinking they are safe when in fact they are not. And let's face it, tourists stand out. They look different and dress differently from the residents of the place they're visiting.
What kinds of crime do tourists need to be concerned about?
All kinds, including violent crime, unfortunately. Tourists, however, are primarily targeted for theft of the valuables they have on them and the information gained from passports, credit cards, and other forms of identification. Because out-of-town visitors tend to congregate at tourist attractions, it's easier for criminals to do their work. Not only does this provide the opportunity for a pickpocket to take someone's wallet unnoticed, But it also makes it easier for a purse snatcher to quickly grab something and run. A mugger can follow a victim until he or she is alone at an ATM machine, for example, where the criminal can demand the victim's money and property.
So what precautions do you recommend?
Before you leave home, use the internet to learn about your destination so you can avoid high-crime neighborhoods. The more you know, the better you can protect yourself. Photocopy your passport and make sure you have a list of all your credit card numbers. When you're packing, choose clothes that don't make you stand out as a tourist. By the way, the inside pocket of a jacket may seem like a good place for a wallet or passport, but it's a favorite target for pickpockets. You should either bring pants and jackets with zippered or button pockets, or consider buying a money belt, and leave unnecessary valuables at home.
And what extra precautions should tourists take in urban areas?
It goes without saying. Avoid streets that are not well lit at night. And avoid going out alone if you can. While there's usually safety in numbers, remember that tourist attractions also attract thieves. Stay aware of what's happening around you, as if you had eyes in the back of your head. On the street, avoid using a smartphone or tablet, or fumbling with a map or guidebook, if you don't need to. Be wary if a stranger asks for directions or starts up a conversation. He or she may be sizing you up as a potential victim. Be particularly careful in crowds at festivals or on buses or trains. Be suspicious of any sudden disruption. Thieves are known to intentionally create a distraction so you won't realize what they're actually doing. And a warning to women, be careful if you wear a crossbody purse. It may be harder for a criminal to grab, but you could be injured if the purse snatcher is on a motorcycle.
Do people need to worry about leaving valuables in their hotel room?
Good point. Don't leave valuables unprotected in your room, where a burglar might break in and take them. Ask the front desk to keep them for you. Better safe than sorry. Finally, I should mention that, all in all, crime rates are going down worldwide, and the chances you will become a crime victim are low. So don't let worrying about crime interfere with your having a great time.
Page 58. Exercise A. Listening warm-up. Vocabulary. Community service activities. Read and listen.
Beautify your town.
Clean up litter.
Raise money.
Volunteer your time.
Donate blood.
Page 58. Page 59. Exercise C. Listen to summarize. Listen to the report about the Ice Bucket Challenge. What was it? Describe the idea in your own words. Exercise D. Listen for details. Read the questions. Then listen again and answer them. Exercise E. Listen to confirm content. The report mentions that some people criticized the Ice Bucket Challenge. Read the list of criticisms. Then listen again and check the ones that are actually mentioned in the report.
Former college athlete Pete Frates was diagnosed in 2012 with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, also commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease. ALS is a relatively rare disease that attacks the nervous system. Eventually, one loses the ability to move or speak, even the ability to breathe. Life expectancy after diagnosis is 2 to 5 years. But Pete Frates had a goal. He wanted to spread awareness of the disease and get people to contribute to its cure. And he had a big idea. It went like this. You made a video of yourself dumping a bucket of icy water over your head. You posted it on a social media site and challenged your friends to do the same thing within 24 hours or donate $100 to ALS research. What happened next was huge. Social media users all over the world took up the challenge and posted videos of themselves. On Facebook, more than 2.4 million Ice Bucket Challenge videos were shared and were viewed 10 million times, reaching more than 400 million people. On YouTube, more than 2.3 million videos were posted. The challenge was mentioned more than 2.2 million times on Twitter. Everyone, from kids to next-door neighbors to famous celebrities and politicians, talked about it and took the challenge themselves. Whole communities, families, schools and companies took the challenge together. And in just 1 month alone, the Ice Bucket Challenge raised $100 million in donations. The challenge had its critics. Some said that it was mainly about having fun rather than doing charity work. In most of the videos, the cause, which was supposed to be finding a cure for ALS, was not even mentioned. Some called it a publicity stunt for celebrities and politicians. Other critics said that it was just an opportunity to be the star of your own video without having to give anything. There were those who felt that people should have skipped the ice bucket entirely and simply donated money instead. Another point critics made was that since ALS was a rare disease that affects few people, it would have been smarter to donate all that cash to a more serious problem, such as providing medical supplies for the Ebola epidemic that was turning into a crisis in West Africa at that same time. Nevertheless, people who are involved in charity work felt it was a very exciting phenomenon and a very successful event. It helped increase awareness of ALS and raised much-needed money for research. Perhaps most importantly, it made people feel connected as a community, that by getting involved and collaborating with each other, they might be able to cure the world's problems. According to Susie Arjovic Parker, owner of a Canadian social media and marketing firm, the Ice Bucket Challenge engaged people as a community in several ways. For one thing, it appealed to the natural desire in most of us to help other people. Secondly, it created an ongoing conversation people could watch on social media and share with their friends and family. And it was easy and fun to do. In fact, 21% of the videos posted on Facebook led to money donations. Organizations dedicated to researching a cure for ALS received more donations than ever before. That's not bad at all.
Page 61. Review. Exercise A. Listen carefully to each story. Infer the type of criminal being described and complete the statements with the details of the crime. Conversation 1.
Have I ever told you about the time someone took my wallet?
No. What happened?
Well, I was riding on the bus and I had my wallet in my backpack. It was really crowded, wall-to-wall people. Well, someone took the wallet.
Out of your backpack?
Yeah, someone used something to cut it open and took the wallet right out.
Wow, that's kind of scary.
It was. I should have either kept the backpack in front of me or kept the wallet in my pants pocket.
Conversation 2.
So by the time we got back, we were pretty tired.
You know, you're telling me about your trip to Los Angeles reminds me of the time I was there a few years ago.
Really? I didn't know you had ever been there.
Well, it wasn't a very pleasant experience.
No? What happened?
Well, I was walking with a friend of mine. I was visiting him in L.A., and some big mean-looking guy walks up to us and demands all our money.
No way.
Yeah. My friend didn't have much in his wallet, but I had more than $200 on me at the time. He took it all.
Conversation 3.
Hey, weren't you in Indonesia recently?
Yeah, I was there a month ago.
How was it?
Fantastic. I had such a good time everywhere I went. But I really love Jakarta.
I hear it's really fascinating.
It is. But I saw something awful when I was riding in a taxi.
Really? What happened?
This boy came running down the street with a purse in his hand. And running behind him was this poor girl with a terrible look on her face. I assume he had her purse.
Oh, that's too bad. But I guess that could happen in any big city.
True. Conversation 4.
Didn't you and your husband just get back from Paris?
We did. Last Friday.
So how was your trip?
All in all, it was really great. Except for something that happened at our hotel.
What?
Someone broke into our room while we were out sightseeing and took Steve's laptop.
Oh, no. It wasn't in the safe?
No, he stuck it in the dresser drawer under some shirts. I told him not to do that, but he never listens to me.
I guess he should have.
Page 62. Exercise B. Vocabulary.
Categories of animals.
Look at the categories and photos in Exercise A. Listen and repeat. Invertebrates.
A bee. A spider. A worm.
Fish.
A goldfish. An eel.
Amphibians.
A salamander. A frog.
Birds.
A parrot. An eagle.
Reptiles.
A crocodile. A snake. A lizard.
Mammals.
A horse. A lion. An elephant. A rabbit. A monkey. A sheep. A dog. A mouse. Mice. A dolphin.
Page 63. Exercise D. Spotlight. Read and listen to a conversation over lunch at an international meeting. Notice the spotlighted language.
Nice picture. Hey, are those your cats?
Yeah, they're my babies. We've had the gray one a long time. She's almost 17 now.
No way. She still looks so healthy. What about the white one?
We think he's pretty young. Actually, he was hanging around outside our house all summer, and it didn't seem like anyone was taking care of him. We felt sorry for him, so we took him in.
Lucky cat. He looks like a member of the family now. But I'll bet the older one wasn't too crazy about having a new cat around.
Well, he thinks he's still a kitten. He just wants to play all the time. But I'd say she puts up with him pretty well. She's really patient.
From the picture, it looks like she's the one in charge.
Definitely. She doesn't fool around. If he gets too rough, she knows how to put him in his place. Hey, do you have any pets?
No, we don't. When we feel like being around animals, we go to the zoo.
Actually, I'm not too crazy about zoos. I just don't think animals should be cooped up in small cages.
Normally I'd agree with you, but our local zoo isn't like that at all. The larger mammals have plenty of outdoor space. It's pretty humane, I think.
Well, that's good. I guess we shouldn't just assume that animals in captivity aren't treated well.
Page 64. Exercise A. Grammar Spotlight. Read the social media posts. Notice the spotlighted grammar.
David Suchet, June 30th, Seattle, USA. I really feel sorry for animals that are mistreated. Does anyone else get as fed up as I do about their inhumane treatment? In my opinion, animals should never be killed just for sport or entertainment. Hunting, bullfighting, and any other sport that involves the killing of defenseless animals should be completely banned. And the idea that monkeys or dogs have to be used in medical research seems ridiculous to me. What do you all think? Is inhumane treatment of animals ever justified?
Reiko Yamamoto, July 1st. Atami, Japan. Maybe you're right about killing animals for sport, but don't you think the needs of people should sometimes be considered? For example, it seems clear to me that small mammals like mice or rabbits have to be used for medical research to make sure new medications are safe. It just can't be avoided. Otherwise, new medical treatments might not be discovered. We can't fool around when it comes to medicine.
Marie Colbert, July 1st, Lyon, France. I agree with Rico, people first. But that doesn't mean animals should be treated inhumanely. I'm sure research methods could be improved. And recently I was reading about factory farms that raise chickens or beef cattle, and I was shocked at how crowded and filthy the conditions were. I know animals have to be slaughtered for food, but I'm sure they could be raised more humanely.
Page 66. Exercise A. Vocabulary.
Describing pet.
Read and listen. Positive traits.
Playful. Affectionate. Gentle. Good-natured. Low maintenance. Loyal. Devoted. Protective.
Negative traits.
High-strung. Excitable. Costly. Destructive. Filthy. High maintenance. Aggressive.
Page 66. Exercise B.
Listen to activate vocabulary.
Listen to each conversation and complete the chart with the pet and its pros and cons. Use the vocabulary. Listen again if necessary. Conversation 1.
Honey, there's this guy Ethan who works in the mailroom at the office.
Yeah?
Well, he's looking for a good home for his cat. Apparently, his wife is allergic.
Uh-huh.
I felt sorry for the cat, so I went over to his place, and the cat's amazing. And you know how much I've always wanted one.
Uh-oh.
No, seriously. What would you think of adopting it and taking it in as our cat?
I'm not so sure. I've heard they shed and their hair gets all over everything. On the furniture, on your clothes. I couldn't put up with that. Who wants to clean up cat hair all the time?
Well, this one's a Siamese. They're not supposed to shed their hair as much as other cats. And you know, cats don't need much. They're pretty easy to take care of.
I suppose that's true. My grandmother had one. And I have to admit, her cat was very sweet and loving.
Conversation 2.
Oh, isn't she a cutie?
I guess.
Look at her with those long ears. Aren't you a cute little rabbit?
Look, I'm not so sure a rabbit is a good idea.
Come on, the kids would love her.
Yeah, and they'd scare her to death. Rabbits get frightened really easily, you know.
But the kids have always wanted a rabbit, and everyone says rabbits are great with kids. They're not dangerous at all.
Well, I suppose taking care of a rabbit would teach them a little responsibility.
I'm sure it would. They'd have to feed it every day, and they'd have to learn not to scare it.
Conversation 3.
What would you think about getting a parrot?
What? You're kidding, right? You know they cost an arm and a leg.
Who cares? They make great companions. Once they get used to you, they're really friendly and love attention.
I don't know. I've heard they can do a lot of damage. They like to chew on things like wooden chairs.
Well, not if you keep them in a cage.
And I've heard they require a lot of care and attention. Between feeding them and cleaning the cage, it's a ton of work.
Well, just think about it, okay?
Conversation 4.
You know, there have been 3 burglaries in our neighborhood in the last month. I think we should get a big watchdog.
Are you serious? We don't need a dog.
If we had a dog and someone tried to break in, it would make a lot of noise and scare him away.
To be honest, I think a big dog would be more trouble than it's worth. It could be very hard to control, and then we'd have to worry about it hurting the kids.
Oh, come on. It depends on the kind of dog you get. Most big dogs are active and fun-loving. They love to play with kids. And all dogs are very reliable and attentive to their owners, both adults and kids.
Page 67. Exercise A. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
Do you think a poodle would make a good pet?
Actually, I'm not so sure. I've heard they're really high maintenance.
In what way?
Well, for one thing, they need a lot of attention. I'd consider getting a guinea pig instead.
Why a guinea pig?
Well, they're very low maintenance. And besides, they're really gentle.
But what if you were looking for something a bit more affectionate than a guinea pig?
Then I'd get a cat. They're affectionate and they're low maintenance.
Page 68. Exercise A. Listening warm-up. Vocabulary. Animal social groups.
And protective physical features.
Read and listen.
A flock of birds. A herd of cattle. A school of fish. A pack of wolves.
Physical features.
Claws, hooves, a hoof, a beak, horns.
Page 68. Exercise C.
Listen to define terms.
Listen to part 1 of the lecture to answer this question. What is the difference between an animal that is a predator and one that is prey? Exercise D.
Listen for examples.
Listen to part 1 of the lecture again. With a partner, find an example from the listening to explain each of the following. Part 1.
In today's lecture, we will continue our talk about animal behavior. Much of animal behavior can be explained as instinct. That is, behavior that is already programmed into animals at birth. It is behavior that does not need to be learned. For example, animals instinctively reproduce and care for their young, and they instinctively behave in certain ways to survive in nature. One of the stark realities of the animal world is that most species fall into one of two categories. Predators, those that hunt other animals for food, or prey, those hunted by predators. In fact, many animals actually play both roles in nature, sometimes as predators and sometimes as prey. For those that are prey, instinct drives them to behave in ways that protect them from predators in order to survive. For example, fish swim in huge schools, moving almost as one organism as they search for food. By traveling in a group, they can confuse predators. But more importantly, this behavior increases the chance that predators will choose to eat the fish that are not swimming in the school. In order to hunt, predators also often travel in groups or packs. They work together and use their combined intelligence to single out their prey from the herd or the flock, increasing the chance of success and ensuring their own survival. Hunting in a pack also makes it possible to kill prey that are larger than the predators are. For example, while one lion couldn't kill a young elephant alone, several lions hunting together could. Instinct also drives animals to either lead or follow. In a herd, or even in a pack of predators, some animals are born to be more dominant than others. Animals will often fight each other for that top position. For example, in a herd of horses, the strongest or the smartest horse may play a more dominant role in the herd and lead the others, which is crucial for everyone's survival. Another aspect of the predator-prey relationship is what is called a fight-or-flight response. When predators approach their prey, the prey may instinctually respond in one of two ways. One way is to stand its ground, using hooves, horns, claws, or teeth to fight back and drive the predator away. However, if it can't do that, it will try to get away as quickly as possible.
Exercise E. Exercise E. Listen for details. Now listen to part 2 of the lecture and answer the questions. Part 2.
Much instinctual social behavior can be seen in the animals humans interact with regularly, including household pets. For example, parrots are very social birds whose instincts drive them to live in flocks. In addition to the protection that a flock provides, birds in a flock interact with each other socially, and clean each other. When a parrot is singled out to be a pet in someone's home, they begin to treat their owners as part of their flock, making them the object of their attention and affection. Let's turn now to the difference between instinctual behavior and learned behavior. Learned behavior, as opposed to instinct, is behavior that an animal has to learn through experience. In nature, young animals learn from observing older animals and through experimentation. For example, for wolves, hunting in packs comes from instinct, but they also use their intelligence to learn to hunt more successfully. They learn from experience that some techniques work better than others. And, of course, we see this in animals that are trained by humans. For example, a dog obeys its owner's command to sit or come because it learns that when it does what the owner commands, it gets a reward, such as food or affection. And because it's a dog's instinct to be part of a pack, dogs crave social interaction with the humans closest to them. Interestingly, whether a dog's instinct is to be dominant or not can affect its training. It can be difficult to put up with a dominant dog. So a more dominant dog requires its human owner to establish his or her own dominance over the dog, to show that the human is the one in charge, in order for the training to be successful. That's all the time we have today. We'll continue tomorrow with more on learned behavior in reptiles and amphibians.
Page 70. Exercise B. Reading. Read the stories. What do you think ensured the survival of the buffalo in the U.S.?
The will to make a difference. We live on a planet that is rich in biodiversity. There are millions of different species of animals and plants across the globe. Yet many species are disappearing at an alarming rate, as the habitats in which plants and animals live together are reduced year after year. Currently, 11,000 species of plants and animals, including over 180 mammals, are at risk of becoming extinct because of this loss of habitat. Once gone, their disappearance is irreversible. They cannot be brought back. In its fast development as a nation over the last 300 years, the United States has experienced some dramatic shifts in animal populations. Here is the story of a dismal failure and a remarkable success story. The passenger pigeon. Early European visitors to North America told amazing stories about huge flocks of passenger pigeons that darkened the sky for hours as they flew south for winter. They were easy targets for hunters, delicious to eat, and useful for making feather beds. Estimates put their total population at about 5 billion, the same number as the population of all birds combined in the U.S. today. By the mid-1800s, the hunting of passenger pigeons had become a large-scale commercial enterprise, supplying East Coast cities with a steady supply of birds. Around 300,000 a year were sent to New York City alone. At the same time, their habitat and food sources were shrinking as forests were cut down for farming and construction. In addition, approximately 250,000 birds were killed simply for sport each year. Making matters worse, a female passenger pigeon laid only one egg each year. By the turn of the 20th century, any attempts to save the passenger pigeon were too late. The last surviving pigeon died in the Cincinnati Zoo in 1914, a species lost forever. The American bison, or buffalo. Before European settlers came to North America, there were more than 50 million buffalo roaming in huge herds across the continent's central flatlands, which are today known as the Great Plains. These strange-looking, magnificent creatures, with their furry heads and shoulders and distinctive horns, were an important resource for food, clothing, and shelter for Native Americans living on the plains. And they played an enormous part in the plains ecosystem, sustaining other animals and plants. Weaker buffalo provided food for predators like bears and wolves. Herds attracted birds that picked at buffalo fur for insects. Thousands of hooves walking over the landscape prevented aggressive plants from taking over. In the 1800s, as new settlers moved from the east to settle the west, whole herds were slaughtered, often just for sport. Buffalo were considered an obstacle to the settlers' desire to grow crops and raise cattle. The resource that sustained Native Americans for centuries began to disappear. By the end of the 1800s, there were as few as 750 buffalo remaining. Many people were shocked that the buffalo, long considered a symbol of the West, had been allowed to come so close to extinction. Fortunately, efforts to save them were begun in 1905. The remaining herds were gathered together and protected. Their number steadily increased to today's population of about 350,000. What conclusion can we draw from these stories? In the case of the passenger pigeon, extinction was occurring so fast that even with efforts to save them, it was too late to act. However, we can see that with the American buffalo, conservation efforts can make a difference if they are begun early enough.
Page 73.
Review. Exercise A. Listen to Part 1 of a radio program. Choose the phrase that best completes each statement, according to the program. Part 1.
As part of our 4-part series on animal-assisted therapy, today's report by Tina Rotenberg focuses on some special human and animal relationships.
When people become quadriplegics, they lose more than control of their arms and legs. They lose control of their lives. Each day is a challenge to regain more control and become more independent. Many quadriplegics use an electric wheelchair to move around, but family or friends cannot always be there to assist them. In recent years, capuchin monkeys have been trained to help improve their lives. These intelligent and dexterous monkeys have hands similar to human hands. They assist quadriplegics by performing practical tasks such as serving food, opening and closing doors, turning lights on and off, and retrieving objects. Capuchins are dependable and devoted helpmates, giving their partners independence, dignity, and companionship.
Page 73.
Review. Exercise B. Now listen to Part 2 and choose the phrase that best completes each statement. Part 2.
Children who have autism, Down syndrome, and other mental or physical conditions are often not responsive and have difficulty interacting with people and learning to talk. But in Miami, Florida, children like these are swimming with dolphins in a special program that is showing some promising results. Dolphins are extremely intelligent and gentle animals, and they show a special fondness for children. When the children swim with them, the dolphins are playful, and they make noises that sound like singing. Scientists theorize that because children have a natural capacity for joy and playfulness, this time spent together helps the children relax and open up. After swimming with dolphins just 2 or 3 times, some children can speak their first words. Many of these children also become more interactive and respond better to people after therapy.
Unit 7. Advertising and Consumers. Page 75. Exercise C. Spotlight. Read and listen to a conversation between 2 colleagues. Notice the spotlighted language.
Oh no, I could kick myself.
About what?
You know how much I've been wanting to learn Spanish, right? Look at this great system I could have gotten for half price. Well, until yesterday, that is.
Oh, come on. Don't fall for that. You can't learn a language while you sleep.
I don't know. They say it's based on brain science, and it's risk-free. You get your money back if you don't learn. So it must be true.
Oh, Aldo, that's just wishful thinking. Think about how long it took you to learn English.
But you're comparing apples and oranges. Learning Spanish is a whole lot easier than learning English for Italian speakers like me.
That's debatable. Not everyone would agree with that, but whatever. Any new language takes plenty of study and practice.
I know, but I hate being forced to learn grammar. In this method, I don't think you have to.
Sorry, there are no two ways about it. Learning a language takes work. Tell you what, I'll teach you Spanish myself. Between now and the end of the year, we'll have dinner together a couple of evenings a week. We'll converse in Spanish. You'll learn fast.
You really mean it? I'd be willing to pay you for the lessons.
No way. Just make me a nice Italian dinner on those nights and we'll call it even. It'll be fun.
Dinner? No problem. I'd be making that anyway. Sophia, this is really generous of you.
Well, you've done me a bunch of favors at work. I figure I owe you one.
Page 76. Exercise A. Vocabulary. Verbs for shopping activities. Read and listen to what the people are saying.
Browse. I'm not looking for anything in particular. I'm just browsing.
Bargain hunt. This is the best time to bargain hunt.
Comparison shop. Wow, here's the reason to comparison shop before buying. Everyone should shop around before making a decision.
Window shop. This place is a little pricey, but it doesn't cost anything to window shop.
Page 76. Exercise B. Listen to activate vocabulary. Listen to the conversations about shopping. Infer what the people are doing. Complete each statement with the correct verb phrase. Conversation 1.
Hey, Ross. Great sale, right?
Nina, hi. I just got here. What are you looking for?
An air conditioner for our bedroom. Ours is broken. I've heard you can get them really cheap here. If so, I might buy one for the kids' bedroom, too. Theirs is ancient.
Good luck.
Conversation 2.
Isn't that stove gorgeous?
It really is. I wonder how expensive it is. There's no price on it.
That's intentional. They want you to go inside and ask.
Right. That way, if you don't buy it, maybe they can talk you into something else.
Well, I'm sure it costs an arm and a leg. It's a good thing we don't need one.
Conversation 3.
Hey, George, isn't this the same shirt they were selling for $75 at Larson's? I've been checking everywhere to see if you can get it for less.
Actually, no. This one's short-sleeved. That's probably why it's cheaper. The long-sleeved one is the same price as at Larson's.
Too bad. But tell you what, I'm going to check online, too. No reason to pay an arm and a leg if someone has it for less.
Conversation 4.
Can I help you, ma'am?
No, thanks. I'm just looking.
Are you looking for anything in particular?
Not really. I'd just like to look around.
Certainly. Let me know if you need any help.
Okay, I will. Thanks.
Page 77. Exercise A. Conversation spotlight. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
Quick question. Where would you go if you needed some new furniture?
Well, I find Morton's a good place to go bargain hunting.
Morton's? They can be a little pricey, can't they?
But when their things go on sale, their prices are rock bottom.
That's good to know.
Why don't you check out Morton's online? Maybe you'll get lucky.
Exercise B. Rhythm and intonation. Listen again and repeat. Then conversation with a partner. Page 78. Exercise A. Grammar spotlight. Read the interviews. Notice the spotlighted grammar.
What's the most annoying commercial or ad you've ever seen?
That would be the toothpaste ad they keep playing on my favorite music station. It's loud and obnoxious and it totally gets on my nerves. I hate to be forced to listen to a dumb ad over and over. It just drives me crazy. Nadia Basri, English teacher. Amman, Jordan.
What's the funniest ad you've ever seen?
There's this one really funny TV commercial for a language school. This cat sticks its claw into a goldfish bowl. Suddenly, the goldfish starts barking like an angry dog and the terrified cat runs away. The words, "It never hurts to know another language," appear on the screen. It just cracks me up every time I see it. I enjoy being entertained like that. Alex Winston, architect, Busan, South Korea.
What's the most interesting ad you've ever seen?
An ad I saw yesterday really blew me away. There's this company that produces sports drinks. Their ad presents actual statistics of how the drink enhances athletic performance. It was so convincing I totally forgot it was an ad. Like most people, I resent simply being sold to and really appreciate being informed about a product's benefits. Ads like that can really build goodwill for a product. Teresa Selden, Advertising Executive, Minneapolis, USA.
What's the most touching ad you've ever seen?
Actually, there's a billboard for a tablet that I see on my way to work. It shows this elderly woman having a video chat with her daughter and brand new granddaughter. The tablet and the video chat are obviously something really new for the grandma. I'm not an emotional guy, but this ad just hits me in the heart and chokes me up. I know it's just an ad, but once in a while it doesn't hurt to be reminded about the important things in life. Marcos Teixeira, medical student, Fortaleza, Brazil.
Page 80. Exercise B. Reading. Read the article. In what ways is compulsive shopping a problem?
Compulsive shopping, an addiction or just something to get under control? For some people, shopping is a favorite pastime and harmless as long as they have the money to pay for their purchases. For others, unfortunately, shopping can spiral out of control and become as serious as other destructive addictions like alcoholism, drug abuse, and compulsive gambling. Research has shown that compulsive shopping, like other addictions, causes the physical effect of a high when brain chemicals such as endorphins and dopamine are released. This causes the addict to feel pleasurable sensations. These sensations make shopping hard to resist and thus the habit hard to kick. What are the warning signs of a shopping addiction, or as it is sometimes called, shopaholism? First, just as alcoholics tend to hide their bottles, shopaholics commonly hide their purchases. Shopaholics often lie to people in their families about how much money they've spent. Second, the problem is long-lived or chronic, meaning that the behavior doesn't occur just once or twice a year. Rather, it's a continuous problem that repeats itself over and over. Third, shopaholics, like many people, purchase items on impulse. But unlike normal people who sometimes splurge and pick up an impulse item like a sweater they don't need, shopaholics might buy 10. Fourth, as with any addiction, a problem exists when the behavior has obvious consequences. Going into debt, going shopping instead of taking care of family or work responsibilities, or uncontrollable spending that may deprive others in the family of money needed for other things. What can true shopaholics do to get help? For some, self-help and group programs can be effective. For others whose addiction results from underlying depression, seeing a psychotherapist or a physician can help, reducing the need to shop compulsively. Thankfully, many people are able to splurge or buy things on impulse from time to time without being addicts. However, if you are concerned you may be a compulsive shopper, here are some tips that can help. Shop with a list. It keeps you focused on the things you really need and want, and it ensures that you don't get distracted by impulse items and go overboard buying a lot of unneeded things. Avoid sales, coupons, and special offers. Spending any money on something you don't need is overspending, even if it's a bargain. Remember, special offers are a way for store owners to get you into the store. Follow the thinking time rule. Don't buy anything new on the spot. Make yourself wait a day, a week, or some other amount of time before making a purchase. Or do some comparison shopping. You may find you don't want the item after all, or you may find it at a much better price. Always try to be aware of your motivations when you shop. Don't go shopping when you're angry or upset. In the long run, the problem that upset you in the first place will still be there.
Page 82. Exercise B. Vocabulary.
Ways to persuade.
Listen and repeat.
Then, based on the way they are used in Exercise A, write the correct word for each definition. Endorse, promote, imply, prove.
Page 83. Exercise C. Listen to infer. Listen to each ad. Write 2 techniques from Exercise A that the advertiser uses in the ad. Listen again and take notes of what the ad says to support your choice of techniques. Ad number 1.
Honey, you're going to be late for the meeting.
Bye-bye, sweetie.
Bye-bye. Hey, wait a minute. Oh, phew! Your breath. I hate to ask you this, but did you remember to brush your teeth this morning?
Sure I did. What's wrong?
You can't go to the meeting like that. You'll lose your job.
Maybe it was something I ate.
Morning mouth, and he didn't even know. Don't let bad breath get in your way. Don't let bad breath spoil your day. Nice Mouth mouthwash 5 times a day will make your breath smell fresh.
Honey, you're going to be late for the meeting.
Take care, sweetie.
Much better.
Thank you, Nice Mouth.
Nice Mouth mouthwash. 90% of dentists surveyed worldwide say that regular use of Nice Mouth freshens breath better and longer than other brands. So, what are you waiting for?
Ad number 2.
Picture this. You're at the beach. The sun is shining and there's a cool breeze blowing through your hair. The palm trees are swaying and they're playing your favorite song. And you're drinking a tall glass of Leon's lemonade. Talk about paradise.
Hello there.
Aren't you?
Sean Connery. Or maybe you know me better as Bond. James Bond.
You're my favorite actor.
Is that a Leon's lemonade you're drinking?
Yes.
I always drink Leon's lemonade. May I have one too?
Of course.
Ah, nice. Very nice.
As I was saying, talk about paradise.
Ad number 3.
You've been working very hard.
Yes, it's true.
And you're ready for something new.
How true.
And you're tired of driving what everyone else is driving.
Very true.
You want to live the good life now.
It's so true.
And you're ready to make your move.
Yes, it's true.
Then isn't it time you drove a Bernard?
A Bernard.
Refined elegance, classic looks, beauty, and grace. Not everyone drives a Bernard, but why shouldn't you? Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Ad page 85. Review. Exercise A. Listen to each statement or question. Choose an appropriate response. 1.
The ad says the Extra 44 and the L1102 are identical, but that the 1102 is less expensive and doesn't have a superdrive. What do you think?
2.
If you need a ride, I can drive you to your doctor's appointment. I have some extra time this afternoon.
3.
I'd really like to pay for lunch. I ordered something really expensive.
4.
They say that this bathing suit makes you look 5 kilos thinner and 10 years younger. I'm going to get one.
5.
So you bought the old model? The new one's coming out next week.
Page 87. Exercise C. Spotlight. Read and listen to a conversation about relationships. Notice the spotlighted language.
Did you hear the good news? Emma and Max patched things up.
They got back together? I didn't even know they'd split up. Shows you how out of touch I am. What happened?
Well, from what I understand, first they had a falling out about money. And then one thing led to another and the marriage started going downhill.
What a shame. It's incredible how little things can snowball. You know what, though? There's usually some bigger underlying issue when a marriage gets into trouble.
Actually, I think you've hit the nail on the head. Emma's been making more money than Max for the last couple of years. And then about 6 months ago, he lost his job. So they figured it would be economical for him to be a stay-at-home dad. I mean, why pay a babysitter?
Makes sense.
But that's just about the time things began to fall apart, and they started arguing about who should make financial decisions. And then the more they fought, the worse things got. Apparently, the constant conflict affected the kids' behavior. They started misbehaving at school, talking back to their teachers, disobeying school rules.
You know, I'm feeling sort of like a gossip, talking about them behind their backs. Let's just be thankful they're back together now.
Page 88. Exercise A. Grammar Spotlight. Read the information in the article. Notice the spotlighted grammar.
Falling birth rates. Current trends show the size of families is changing, impacting societies worldwide. Women are marrying later, and couples are waiting longer to have children. And the longer couples wait to have children, the fewer children they have. Two key factors that impact family size are the education and the employment of women. Studies show that the more education women get, the smaller families they have. Moreover, the longer women stay in school, the better their opportunities for employment. Working women are less likely to marry young and have large families. In addition to the falling birth rate, there is a rising life expectancy. With people living longer and longer, families are going to have to face the challenges posed by an aging population. The longer people live, the more care they require. Traditionally, children have cared for their elderly parents at home. However, the more the birth rate falls, the harder the future may be for the elderly. With fewer children, families may find it more and more difficult to care for their older members.
Page 89. Exercise E.
Listen to activate grammar.
Listen to 3 people talking about trends in marriage and family life. Listen again and complete each statement according to what the speaker implies using double comparatives. 1.
There is a strong relationship between the education women get and the quality of medical care they receive. Research shows that mothers with more education are likely to receive better medical care when they have children. In Egypt, for example, about 75% of women with a secondary education receive medical care before having children. By contrast, only about 33% of women without an education receive medical care.
2.
In Japan, the average age that men get married is 28, and for women, it's around 26. Compared to other countries in the world, Japanese men and women seem to be getting married at a later age. According to a government study, the main reason Japanese marry at an older age is that they date each other longer. The study shows that over the past 15 years, the gap between a couple's first date and the time they get married has increased from 2 to 3 years.
3.
New studies show a direct relationship between the number of years one stays in school and life expectancy. Worldwide, for every year beyond the age of 16 that students stay in school, they live an average of 2 additional years. According to a new United Nations report, this is compelling evidence for compulsory education past middle school.
Page 90. Exercise A. Vocabulary.
Describing parent and teen behavior.
Read and listen. Parents can sometimes be
Too strict. Too lenient. Overprotective.
Teenagers can sometimes be
rebellious, spoiled, disrespectful.
Page 91. Exercise C. The conversations about parent and teen behavior. Listen again and determine which adjective from the vocabulary best completes each statement. Conversation 1.
I believe in setting limits. When kids break the rules, you punish them immediately. No excuses. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I think that's a little harsh, Stan. Sometimes there are reasons for breaking the rules. I think you have to take this on a case-by-case basis.
Conversation 2.
Aunt Jane,
don't you think it's only fair for my parents to buy me a new computer? I mean, my friends' parents love their kids enough to get them whatever they want, so why shouldn't mine?
Jason, you already have a pretty decent computer. Don't be so selfish.
Conversation 3.
I'm not overly concerned about my kids. I think they can be trusted to behave without my watching over them all the time like a mother hen. Kids should be allowed to make their own decisions. What's the point in worrying? They'll figure it out as they go along.
Well, that's not how I see it. You need to be watching your kids all the time or they'll just get themselves into trouble.
Conversation 4.
That boyfriend of yours is a troublemaker.
Why do you think that?
Because he's always in trouble at school. That's why.
Why don't you have any respect for my friends? What do you know anyway? Just because you're an adult doesn't mean you know everything.
Young lady, I don't like that tone of voice. You're grounded. No movies or trips to the mall for 2 weeks.
Conversation 5.
I'm so worried about my daughter.
Uh-oh, what's going on?
Well, she wants to learn how to drive.
Oh yeah? How old is she?
19.
Then what's the problem?
Oh, I don't know. What does she need to drive for? I mean, what if she gets in an accident?
But she's 19. Don't you think she's old enough to start learning how to take care of herself? Like driving herself to work or going shopping?
I'm just not comfortable with it. I could drive her anywhere she needs to go.
You know, you have to let your kids be adults at some point.
Conversation 6.
Want to go to the late show? There's a cool movie tonight.
Ryan, don't you have to be home by 11 on school nights?
Yeah, but I'm sick and tired of being told what to do. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm almost 16. I'll go home when I feel like it.
Well, I have an 11 o'clock curfew too, and I'm going home. What are you trying to prove? Your parents aren't so strict.
Page 91. Exercise A. Conversation Spotlight. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
What do you think parents should do if their teenage kids start smoking?
Well, I'm sorry to say there's not much they can do.
Why's that?
Well, teenagers are out of the house most of the day, so parents can't control everything they do.
I suppose, but they can ground them if they don't shape up.
I'm sorry to say.
I hate to say it, but
To tell you the truth,
unfortunately,
the sad fact is.
Page 92. Page 92. Listening warm-up.
Word study. Transforming verbs and adjectives into nouns.
Listen and repeat.
expect, expectation,
Explain, explanation.
frustrate, frustration,
Permit, permission.
develop, development,
Involve, involvement.
courteous, courtesy,
Difficult, difficulty.
responsible, responsibility,
Reliable, reliability.
capable, capability,
Dependable, dependability.
disabled, disability,
Fair, fairness.
rebellious, rebelliousness,
Selfish, selfishness.
strict, strictness,
Generous, generosity.
mature, maturity,
Mobile, mobility.
secure, security,
Productive, productivity.
important, importance,
Significant, significance.
independent, independence,
Lenient, lenience.
obedient, obedience.
Page 92. Exercise C.
Listen for supporting information.
Listen to part 1 of a man's description of the generation gap in his family. Then answer the questions. Exercise D. Listen for details. Listen to part 1 again. Then complete each statement. Part 1.
My name is Rimas Vilkas and I come from Vilnius, the capital city of Lithuania.
I live in Chicago now, but I grew up in Vilnius in the 80s and 90s in an apartment with my immediate family, my sister, my mother, and my father, and of course me. My parents, however, didn't grow up in Vilnius. They grew up in a small village in the east. Both my parents came from very large families, and they both lived with their extended families when they were growing up. At that time, it was the common expectation that 3 generations would live together in a house: children, parents, and grandparents. My mother said that everyone, her 7 brothers and sisters, her parents, and her grandparents, all ate dinner together every night of the week. This kind of togetherness was pretty different from the way my family grew up. When I was growing up, my sister and I usually ate with our parents. But sometimes when they had to work, we didn't. We'd have to eat by ourselves. This may be why my father says that families were closer back then. He says there was more parental involvement in teenagers' lives. My dad thinks that closeness is the reason why teenagers had fewer problems. He says it was rare for a teenager to be a troublemaker at school. He thinks rebelliousness and disrespect are more modern teen problems. In his day, he says, that kind of disobedience would have been highly unusual.
Page 93. Exercise E.
Listen to compare and contrast.
Now listen to Part 2. Listen again and complete the chart by describing the differences between the 2 generations. Compare charts with a partner. Part 2.
A lot of other things were different when my parents were growing up. Lithuania was still a part of the Soviet Union, and life was very limited in some ways. My parents dealt with a lot of difficulties. Back then, they didn't have as many choices, for things like what direction your career would take, or traveling abroad. Not so many opportunities. And it was very rare that someone would move away and live somewhere else. Because of that, when my parents were teenagers, they really didn't know much about life outside the Soviet Union, at least firsthand. Most people got married at about the same age and had children shortly afterward. And they usually had one job for their whole life. For all those reasons, I would say there was a difference in the worldview that teenagers had then, different from the one I had when I was growing up, which was, of course, during the breakup of the Soviet Union. By the time I was in my teens, a generation gap had pretty much opened up. Teenagers began to develop different tastes in music, the way they dressed. It's not surprising when you think about it. A lot of the food Lithuanians eat now, a lot of the movies they watch, even some of the fashions come from Western Europe or the US. Before, in my parents' generation, it used to be a big deal if somebody left their small village and moved to Vilnius. But today a lot of my friends have moved away from Lithuania altogether. I have friends living all over Europe, some in the States, and even a friend in New Zealand. That was almost unheard of for my parents' generation. My parents can't understand that kind of independence, why anyone would want to move so far away. So mobility is a huge difference. So some of the changes I'm describing shouldn't be too surprising. Young people are leaving home earlier, they're more likely to move far away, marry later, and choose a career instead of having children right away. I still consider myself close to my parents, but I can't deny that there is a generation gap. My parents find it hard to understand why I live far away from them, why my wife and I don't have children yet. And they can't figure out how it is that I've had so many different jobs over the years. It's hard for me to explain to them. Sometimes it's so frustrating. They worry about me, about my security, like parents have always worried about their kids. And I think they worry a lot about whether I'll be able to handle the responsibility of taking care of them in their old age, the way they took care of their own parents.
Page 94. Exercise B. Reading. Read the report on the increase in the global population of older people. What will some consequences of this demographic shift be?
Worldwide growth of aging populations. The world is facing a huge demographic shift without precedent. For the first time in history, we soon will have more elderly people than children, and more extremely old people than ever before. As the population of older people gets larger and larger, key questions arise. Will aging be accompanied by a longer period of good health, social engagement, and productivity, or will it be associated with more illness, disability, and dependency? What we do know is that the more elderly people there are in the population, the more cases of age-related diseases such as heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and cancer there will be. Societies will have to find ways to address this growing need. And the older people get, the higher the prevalence of dementia, especially Alzheimer's disease. An estimated 25 to 30% of people aged 85 or older have dementia and lose their ability to remember, have difficulty reasoning, and undergo some personality changes. Unless new and more effective ways to treat or prevent Alzheimer's disease are found, cases are expected to rise dramatically with the increased aging of the population worldwide. And because most dementia patients eventually need constant care and help with the most basic activities of daily living, more institutions will need to be built for their care, more medications provided for their treatment, and more caregivers trained to aid them in their daily life. What are some of the other social and economic consequences of this demographic shift? Even if they don't have dementia, many of the oldest old lose their ability to live independently, and many require some form of long-term care, which can include nursing homes, assisted living facilities, in-home care, and specialized hospitals. The significant costs associated with providing this support may need to be borne by families and society. And as fewer and fewer adult children are able or want to stay home to care for older relatives, the shift to institutional care for elders will represent an immense social change, especially in those cultures where older generations have traditionally lived with younger ones. And the more residents of developing countries seek jobs in cities or other areas far from where they grew up, the less access to informal family care their older relatives back home will have.
Page 96. Review. Exercise A. Listen to the conversations about generational issues. Listen to each conversation again, and complete the statement with the correct comparative. Conversation 1.
Just look at this email from Jordan's English teacher. It says Jordan's missing his last 2 book reports and his grades are going downhill.
No way. Every time I see him in front of the computer, he tells me he's doing homework.
He's probably spending hours on the internet wasting time. That's it. No more internet until his grades get better at school. Let's go talk to him together.
Conversation 2.
I'm really getting worried about Sandy. I don't know what to do.
Sandy? She's such a good kid. What's up?
Well, ever since she got her driver's license last month, she's been staying out later and later. Last night, she didn't get home until after 11. She's no baby, but I worry about her. I'm losing sleep.
Well, you need your sleep. Why don't you give her a curfew? Tell her if she gets in 1 minute late, she's grounded.
Conversation 3.
Hey, Jill. What's up?
I'm grounded. I can't go to the concert.
What did you do?
Absolutely nothing. My dad told me to take off all my makeup before I went to school, and I told him he was being ridiculous.
You told him that?
Yeah, he's just so annoying. Next time he tells me I can't wear makeup, I think I'll get a tattoo. That'll show him.
Conversation 4.
You know, Jen, Mom and Dad aren't that bad. Now that I think back on how much trouble we gave him, I appreciate him more.
Me too. I used to think they were so dumb, but it turns out they are pretty smart. You know, I hope when I have kids, I'll be as smart about kids as Mom and Dad.
Page 99. Exercise C. Spotlight. Read and listen to a conversation about a mystery. Notice the spotlighted language.
Have you been keeping up with all the news about that missing military jet?
Yeah, very mysterious, don't you think? The whole thing doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. I mean, how can a military plane just vanish without a trace over the Mediterranean Sea? Where's the evidence of a crash?
I have no idea, but apparently there was bad weather. Most likely the pilot lost control, and it crashed into the water.
They claim that's the probable explanation, but in my opinion, they're barking up the wrong tree.
What do you mean?
Well, I know I'm going out on a limb with this, but the plane might have been taken over by someone and flown to a secret location.
Oh, come on. How could anyone take over a military plane? You don't really buy that, do you?
Why not? Rumor has it that there were 2 high-level government scientists aboard. Maybe someone wanted the information they might have had.
I'm sorry, but that seems really far-fetched to me. It's just not believable. There's no question the plane crashed. The only question is where.
Page 100. Exercise A. Vocabulary.
Degrees of certainty.
Read and listen. Very certain.
Clearly she got stuck in traffic. It's obvious that she got stuck in traffic. There's no question that she got stuck in traffic.
Almost certain.
Most likely she got stuck in traffic. Probably she got stuck in traffic. I'll bet she got stuck in traffic. I suppose she got stuck in traffic.
Not certain.
Maybe she got stuck in traffic. It's possible that she got stuck in traffic. I wonder if she got stuck in traffic.
Page 100. Exercise B.
Listen to activate vocabulary.
Listen to each conversation and circle the phrase that best completes the statement. Then explain your choices. Conversation 1.
Her parents grounded her.
They grounded her? That's surprising. She's not the kind of kid who misbehaves.
Well, she must have done something. Her parents told her she has to stay home all this week.
I wonder what she did.
Maybe she stayed out after her curfew. I know her parents are pretty strict about that.
Could be, but it's still surprising. Jade is usually such a good kid.
Conversation 2.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. But I just got off the phone with Jack. Apparently he's in financial trouble.
Your brother? How can that be? He's got a great job.
Yeah, but he just told me he's drowning in debt. And he's been losing sleep worrying about it.
Well, I can't say I'm totally surprised. It's obvious that he's pretty impulsive about his spending.
Well, there's no question that's a big part of the problem now.
Conversation 3.
Did you hear that Linda got her kids a puppy?
Are you serious? I know the kids were asking for one, but she told us there was no way she would ever agree to that.
That's true. She said a puppy was just too high maintenance and that they couldn't have one in their small apartment. But I suppose she decided that raising a puppy would be good for them.
I don't think that's it. She's a lot more lenient with her kids than we are. Clearly, she just gave them what they wanted.
Page 101.
Now you can.
Exercise A. Conversation Spotlight. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
I wonder where Stacy is. She said she'd be here by 10.
Do you think something happened?
No idea. But I'm sure it's nothing. I'll bet she got stuck in traffic.
I suppose you're right. But I'm surprised she hasn't called.
I am too.
There must be a good explanation. Maybe she left her phone at home.
Could be. I forget mine all the time.
No idea. No clue. Beats me.
Could be. Maybe. I suppose.
Page 102. Exercise B. Grammar Spotlight. Read about Rapa Nui. Notice the spotlighted grammar.
Island of Mystery. Rapa Nui, or Easter Island, is the most remote inhabited island in the world. Its huge stone figures, called moai, are world famous, but their origin, as well as much of the island's history, is shrouded in mystery. Experts believe the stone figures may have been used to establish religious and political authority and power, but no one knows for sure. Islanders moved a total of 540 figures across the island, some as far as 22 kilometers. Several experts believe the moai could have been walked upright, using ropes to rock the figures back and forth. Others theorize the islanders must have laid the figures down flat and rolled them over logs. They point out that moving each figure could not have been accomplished without the help of 70 or more people and probably took days to achieve. In the early 20th century, Norwegian explorer Thor Heyerdahl noticed cultural similarities between the people on Rapa Nui and the Incas in Peru. He argued that the island might have been inhabited by people who came in boats from South America. To prove it was possible, he successfully sailed a raft called the Kon-Tiki on that route. However, experts citing more recent DNA evidence confirmed that the original inhabitants had to have sailed from Polynesia, which lies to the west. The first arrivals most likely found an inviting habitat lush with palm forests. However, today, the native trees are extinct. Some experts believe that as the population of this small island increased, trees must have been cut down to build houses and boats and to make logs for moving the huge moai. These are some of the theories about Rapa Nui, its stone figures, and the people who created them. Perhaps someday we will learn all the answers.
Page 104. Exercise B. Reading. Read the article. Which details do you think are the most questionable or the least believable?
The Roswell Incident. On June 25, 1947, pilot Kenneth Arnold was flying a plane in the northwest of the U.S. when he saw something strange. Objects that looked like plates or saucers flying across the sky like a small flock of birds. His story led to numerous other news stories in which people claimed to have seen similar unidentified flying objects, UFOs, or flying saucers. Shortly after, on July 8th, a secret military balloon crashed near Roswell, New Mexico in the southwest. However, the local newspaper reported that a flying saucer had crashed, and the news media from all over demanded more information. Because the balloon was a secret, the military made an official announcement that the object that had crashed was just an ordinary weather balloon. No one questioned that story for more than 30 years until 1978. UFO lecturer Stanton Friedman interviewed a man who claimed to have seen something stranger than a weather balloon in the wreckage of the 1947 crash, and the story of a flying saucer was reborn. Although versions of that story differ, most people who believe there was a military conspiracy to hide the truth agree on these basic details. A flying saucer crashed near Roswell in 1947, and because it didn't want anyone to know the truth, the military kept the incident top secret and continues to do so today. However, many details have been added to the story over the years. 11 additional crash sites have been identified. While some people claim that alien beings from other planets must have been captured alive and imprisoned by the military in a secret location, others believe that aliens might have died in the crash and were most likely being kept frozen for research. Roswell conspiracy fans meet at annual conferences to debate the various versions. The military eventually admitted that it had been a secret military balloon. However, Roswell experts claim to have interviewed hundreds of witnesses who say they saw evidence of a flying saucer, proving, therefore, that the conspiracy theory must be true. B.D. Gildenberg, who has examined such claims, believes that the Roswell conspiracy stories are a hoax, the world's most famous, most exhaustively investigated, and most thoroughly debunked UFO claim. Other skeptics of the conspiracy, who accept the military's version, point out that all the interviews occurred more than 30 years after the crash, and that many of the statements made in the interviews were highly questionable. For example, one witness's name was changed after it became clear that she didn't exist. Furthermore, witnesses often seemed to confuse details with military plane crashes that had occurred in the area at about the same time. All the same, a CNN time poll in the U.S. showed that a majority of the people who responded found the UFO story very believable. Conspiracy critic Cal Korff admits, "Let's not pull any punches here. The Roswell UFO myth has been very good business for UFO groups, publishers, Hollywood, the town of Roswell, and the media."
Page 105. Exercise E.
Word study. Adjectives with the suffix able.
Listen and repeat.
Believable.
Debatable.
Unprovable.
Questionable.
Page 106. Exercise B. Listen for main ideas. Listen to Part 1 of this true story and discuss the questions. Part 1.
On October 15, 2009, a shocking news story caught the media's attention worldwide. In the state of Colorado in the western United States, a 6-year-old boy named Falcon Heen had somehow taken off in a hot air balloon and was drifting helplessly across the sky. The balloon, which was shaped like a silver-colored flying saucer, was reported to be traveling at an altitude of more than 2,000 meters, and the public was alarmed. Richard Heen, the boy's father who had built the balloon, said he was handling it when he accidentally lost control and it floated off. When Heen and his wife realized that Falcon was missing, and when Falcon's brother said he had seen Falcon climb into the box that was attached to the balloon, they were very frightened and called for help. Police and TV news helicopters raced to catch up with the balloon while emergency vehicles followed on the ground. Non-stop TV news programs interviewed experts to discuss how to stop the balloon and save the boy. On the internet, bloggers and members of social networking sites referred to Falcon as Balloon Boy, and their posts were filled with speculation about what had happened. More people used Google to search for Balloon Boy that day than for any other topic. And the events were a source of discussion at schools, workplaces, and dinner tables. The balloon traveled for almost 100 kilometers toward the city of Denver, and the Denver airport was closed down. The balloon finally landed on the ground after having flown for about 2 hours. But when emergency vehicles got to the balloon, the boy wasn't there. The police searched all over, worried that he may have fallen out of the balloon during the flight. Someone had even reported seeing something fall from it while it was high in the air. News programs reported the events as they happened, and their viewers worried about the boy's fate. But later that afternoon, everyone was surprised to discover that the boy had been hiding in a cardboard box in a room above the garage at his home. He said that he had been hiding because his father was angry with him. Everyone was greatly relieved that the incident hadn't ended in tragedy, but instead had had a happy ending.
Page 106. Exercise C.
Listen to draw conclusions.
Listen to Part 2 of the story. Complete the statements. Explain your choices. Part 2.
After the good news, the family appeared on TV for interviews. On CNN, Falcon was asked why he had stayed in the garage that whole day. Falcon turned to his parents and responded, "You guys said that, we did this for the show." And on 2 other programs the next day, when interviewers asked his father about that statement, Falcon got nauseous and vomited on TV, clearly very nervous about the whole affair. News agencies began to be suspicious that perhaps the event had been a hoax after all, and the police and other local government authorities began to investigate. One thing authorities discovered was that the balloon could not have carried the weight of a child, so the claim that Falcon was in it could never have been true. More information was discovered about Falcon's father. He was a storm chaser, a UFO researcher, and thought of himself as a part-time scientist. He had designed the balloon as an experimental model for an alternative type of transportation. He had a strong interest in mysteries and conspiracies. He was also a part-time actor who regularly proposed ideas for new TV shows. For example, one in which he would explore wacky scientific mysteries. He even had an idea for a reality show featuring his own family. Later, Falcon's mother, Mayumi, finally admitted she had known that her son was hiding in their home, and that both parents had instructed their children not to tell the truth to the police or news media. Police finally determined that the event had actually been nothing more than a publicity stunt. Richard Heen thought it would help get his family on TV for that reality show. Early estimates placed the cost of the rescue attempt at about $2 million. In the end, Falcon's parents agreed to repay $36,000. In addition, Richard Heen spent 90 days in prison, was required to do 100 hours of community service, and had to write a formal apology to the police. Mayumi Heen spent 20 days in prison. The Heens finally sold the balloon for $2,500 and donated that money to victims of the 2011 earthquake and tsunami in Japan. Many people noted that most TV reporters had presented the story as true right from the beginning, even though there were clear questions about whether or not the boy was even in the balloon. Some reported that Falcon had fallen out of the balloon without having confirmed that information either. Some critics also questioned the judgment of providing live TV coverage of the balloon when a 6-year-old child could have been seen falling to his death. In the end, many concluded that competition among news agencies to report this moving story caused many to focus on being first instead of getting the story right.
Page 108. Review. Exercise A. Listen to the conversations. Listen to each conversation again and choose the statement that is closer in meaning to what each person said. Conversation 1.
Where's Bill?
I don't know. I haven't seen him.
He was supposed to be here an hour ago.
He might have overslept. I heard he stayed out pretty late last night.
That's what you heard?
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe something else happened to him.
Conversation 2.
Whose wallet is this?
Beats me.
Well, you were sitting here. Didn't you see anyone come by?
Yeah, but I was too busy to notice.
I'll bet Gina forgot it.
Why would you think that?
Well, it's a red wallet, and she always wears red.
You're that certain?
You bet.
Conversation 3.
Did you read the newspaper today?
Uh-huh. Why?
Did you read about the latest bank scandal? Sounds like the president is in big trouble now.
Yeah, I read about it. But don't you think it's a little premature to claim that the president himself was involved?
What? You can't be serious.
Where's the evidence?
How much more evidence do you need? It's in the paper.
Come on, you can't believe everything you read in the paper.
Conversation 4.
Did you watch the news hour last night?
No. Was there something interesting I missed?
Oh, yeah. Some guy in Italy says he saw a large, hairy animal that looked kind of like a human eating pasta in the Roman Colosseum.
Get out of here.
No, for real.
The guy must have been drinking.
Don't be such a skeptic. There are a lot of things out there we just can't understand.
Right. And I can't understand how someone so smart could possibly fall for a story like that.
Page 110. Exercise C. Vocabulary.
Ways to describe people.
Listen and repeat.
Then use the words and the survey to describe your partner.
Sociable.
A loner.
Active.
Sedentary.
Laid back.
Page 111. Exercise D. Spotlight. Read and listen to a conversation between two friends after work. Notice the spotlighted language.
Don't you need to take that?
Nah, it's my new boss. It can wait till tomorrow.
Really? What if it's urgent?
She needs to know I'm not always on call. And besides, my workday ended over 2 hours ago. I have a life.
Well, you're a lot more laid back than I am. I've got a lot on my plate at work these days. I'd worry my boss might think I was slacking off.
But he knows that's not true. You work really hard.
I do, but I feel like I need to take my work home with me, or I'll never be able to keep up.
Well, my previous boss was always calling me on the weekend. Finally, I had to put a stop to it. I just decided I wouldn't take any more calls after hours. You just have to draw the line somewhere, right?
I suppose so. But if I did that, I'd be a nervous wreck that I might lose my job.
Me, I can't live like that. When I'm at work, I give it my all. But my free time is mine. Is that yours?
I guess so. Oh no, I forgot I was supposed to call my boss at 7. Excuse me for a minute.
Come on, don't tell me you're going to take that.
Stop that. Shh.
Page 112.
Conversation model. Vocabulary.
Ways to reduce stress.
Read and listen to the suggestions for reducing the stress of work. 1,
Take a breather.
2,
Set aside some downtime.
3,
Slow down.
4,
Set limits.
5,
Learn to laugh things off.
6.
Take up a hobby.
Page 112.
Exercise B.
Listen to activate vocabulary.
Read the suggestions. Then listen to 6 people's complaints. Write the number of a speaker in the box next to the suggestion you'd give him or her. Speaker 1.
All I ever think about is work. I don't have anything to do in my free time that interests me. I wish I did.
Speaker 2.
There's this woman in my office who keeps telling me how to do things. It really gets on my nerves.
Speaker 3.
I've been working so hard to get this report done in time. My boss said it was due tomorrow. I'm so stressed about it that I keep making mistakes. I spend too much time just correcting them all.
Speaker 4.
I'm so tired. I've been working on this project for 6 hours now. I even skipped lunch.
Speaker 5.
It seems like I'm always working or doing chores at home. I never have any time for myself when I can just relax and do absolutely nothing.
Speaker 6.
My boss is driving me crazy. She's always calling me at home when I'm spending time with my family. And today she told me she wants me to come to the office to work this weekend.
Page 113. Exercise A. Conversation Spotlight. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
Uh-oh. I really messed up.
Why? What did you do?
I just realized we were supposed to turn in our reports this morning. It completely slipped my mind.
Well, frankly, I'm not surprised.
What do you mean?
It's just that you've been working so hard lately. Let's face it, you need a break.
You're probably right. I've got way too much on my plate.
You know what? It's time to slow down a little.
Page 114. Exercise A. Grammar Spotlight. Read about how these people got interested in their hobbies. Notice the spotlighted grammar. Assembling models.
When I was a kid, I was crazy about airplanes. My dad did a lot of traveling for his job, so he would bring me back model kits from different airlines. I'd assemble them and paint them, and it was fun. My dad was always showing off my work to his friends, so I decided to get serious and make it a real hobby. Now I build my own models with engines that can really fly.
Quilting.
When I was young, my mom was always collecting old pieces of colorful cloth. At some point, she would sew them together into shapes, and then she would combine the shapes together to make a huge bed cover. I used to think it was embarrassing to have my friends come over and see all those pieces of cloth lying around, but today I'm really proud of the quilts my mom made.
Practicing a martial art.
When I was about 8, my friends were all learning martial arts. They'd walk past my house in their uniforms on their way to karate class, and I really wanted to join them. So I told my mom, and she agreed to let me. I've been practicing now for more than 10 years. It's helped me to feel really confident physically.
Page 116. Exercise B. Reading. Read the article. How would you summarize the author's main points about technology today?
Always connected? The consequences of never switching off. Allison Murphy. Advances in technology come with the promise of increased efficiency, making us more productive and providing more time to relax and enjoy our leisure time. However, some experts claim that the opposite is true, that we're actually working more and have less time to relax, and as a result, we're becoming more stressed out. Next time you're in a public place, look around. Odds are you'll see a large percentage of people on their phones or tablets, texting, chatting, checking messages, or surfing the net. We're more connected to our mobile devices than ever before, which provides us 24/7 contact with our work, social media, and the internet. The devices even follow us into our bedrooms, where we use technology as a means to unwind at the end of a long day. According to a recent poll, a majority of respondents said they use their devices right before going to bed. Most also reported that using their devices keeps them up at night and that they don't get enough sleep. Zach Panetera, a student at Stanford University, complained, "I'll take a quick look at something interesting, and the next thing I know, I've spent a few hours online." According to psychiatrist Kyla Greenham, the light from our devices throws off our normal sleep cycle and actually reduces production of the sleep hormone melatonin. She advises, switch off any kind of technology at least an hour before going to bed. Lack of sleep may not seem so important, but it can have a huge effect on one's performance the next day, making it harder to pay attention or remember things. At work, technology is in fact a contributing factor in a growing trend toward longer hours and less time off. When we leave the office, we continue to stay connected. We are inviting our work world into our private lives in ways that never would have been imaginable in the past. We are constantly on call, and our time is never entirely our own. We just don't know how to switch off our work when we get home. In our leisure time, technology appears to be reducing the face-to-face human interaction that we've traditionally enjoyed. For example, the trend has been away from the shared experiences of going out to the movies or shopping at the mall toward the more private acts of watching movies at home or shopping online. Common leisure activities of the past, such as participating in clubs, took place in the community and provided extended time to communicate with others and develop relationships. In contrast, today's online posts and tweets with family, friends, and colleagues are shorter, more superficial, and less satisfying. Recent research has in fact suggested that face-to-face family time is decreasing in homes with internet connections. No one wishes to turn back the clock on what technology can do. However, switching off our devices from time to time may be one of the most important decisions we can make to ensure that we are living full, satisfying lives.
Page 118. Exercise B. Listen for main ideas. Listen to the interview with a psychologist. Listen again and write a description for each of the two personality types the psychologist describes.
When you stop to think about it, people do a lot of strange stuff. We actually pay money for the thrill of watching scary movies. We enjoy going to amusement parks to ride roller coasters and other crazy rides for the thrill of going at high speeds and getting turned upside down. And the list of wacky extreme sports where the adventurous face their fears, bungee jumping, skydiving, extreme skiing, seems to get longer every year. And then, of course, there are those of us, the faint of heart, who wouldn't dare do any of these things. Well, Sue Franklin is an expert on this topic, and she's here to tell us about two personality types. The person who loves thrills and can't get enough of them, known as the big T personality, and the person who hates thrills and prefers to avoid them, the small t personality. Welcome, Sue Franklin.
Thank you.
You call this the type T analysis. What is that, and what does it tell us about human nature?
Well, it's based on the work of psychologist Frank Farley, and it's a way of studying a person's risk-taking behavior. It indicates how comfortable a person is with taking chances, living on the edge. What Farley calls a big T personality is a person who likes risk. A big T likes thrills, whereas a small t does not. In fact, it's more like a continuum, from risk-taking to risk avoidance. Most of us are willing to take some risks from time to time, but we may still tend to avoid risk in general. So, generally speaking, if you like to take risks, do new things, then you're a big T. If you prefer certainty and routine, then you're a small t.
What's the motivation for seeking thrills?
Much of it is for the adrenaline rush that comes with going right up to the edge. Actually, big T's may physically need a higher level of stimulation than other people do, and they need to take risks in order to get that stimulation.
So do big T types have an important role to play socially?
Absolutely. Farley believes that human progress depends on big T-type behavior. These are people who are not afraid of danger or pushing the limits.
Is there another side to big T behavior?
Definitely. There are both positive and negative sides. There's the healthy, constructive risk-taking that you see in most creative fields, like science, for example. But there's a negative side as well. Crime, drinking and driving, crazy risk-taking in general. As a matter of fact, big T's have twice as many highway accidents as small T's because they take more chances and put themselves in danger more often.
I love riding on roller coasters at the amusement park. Does that make me a big T?
Not necessarily. One of the great things about roller coasters is that they allow people who are afraid of taking risks to feel like they're really taking a big risk by riding one because they're so scary. But everyone also knows that roller coasters are pretty safe. But if you told me you'd never ride on them, I'd tell you you were a small T for sure. The big T personality is the one standing up in the front seat.
Page 118. Exercise C.
Listen for supporting details.
Read each summary of some of Franklin's main points. Listen again and complete each explanation by providing details from the interview.
When you stop to think about it, people do a lot of strange stuff. We actually pay money for the thrill of watching scary movies. We enjoy going to amusement parks to ride roller coasters and other crazy rides for the thrill of going at high speeds and getting turned upside down. And the list of wacky extreme sports where the adventurous face their fears, bungee jumping, skydiving, extreme skiing, seems to get longer every year. And then, of course, there are those of us, the faint of heart, who wouldn't dare do any of these things. Well, Sue Franklin is an expert on this topic, and she's here to tell us about two personality types. The person who loves thrills and can't get enough of them, known as the big T personality, and the person who hates thrills and prefers to avoid them, the small T personality. Welcome, Sue Franklin.
Thank you.
You call this the type T analysis. What is that, and what does it tell us about human nature?
Well, it's based on the work of psychologist Frank Farley, and it's a way of studying a person's risk-taking behavior. It indicates how comfortable a person is with taking chances, living on the edge. What Farley calls a big T personality is a person who likes risk. A big T likes thrills, whereas a small t does not. In fact, it's more like a continuum, from risk-taking to risk avoidance. Most of us are willing to take some risks from time to time, but we may still tend to avoid risk in general. So, generally speaking, if you like to take risks, do new things, then you're a big T. If you prefer certainty and routine, then you're a small t.
What's the motivation for seeking thrills?
Much of it is for the adrenaline rush that comes with going right up to the edge. Actually, big T's may physically need a higher level of stimulation than other people do, and they need to take risks in order to get that stimulation.
So do big T types have an important role to play socially?
Absolutely. Farley believes that human progress depends on big T-type behavior. These are people who are not afraid of danger or pushing the limits.
Is there another side to big T behavior?
Definitely. There are both positive and negative sides. There's the healthy, constructive risk-taking that you see in most creative fields, like science, for example. But there's a negative side as well. Crime, drinking and driving, crazy risk-taking in general. As a matter of fact, big T's have twice as many highway accidents as small T's because they take more chances and put themselves in danger more often.
I love riding on roller coasters at the amusement park. Does that make me a big T?
Not necessarily. One of the great things about roller coasters is that they allow people who are afraid of taking risks to feel like they're really taking a big risk by riding one because they're so scary. But everyone also knows that roller coasters are pretty safe. But if you told me you'd never ride on them, I'd tell you you were a small T for sure. The big T personality is the one standing up in the front seat.
Page 118. Exercise D.
Listen to understand meaning from context.
Listen to each of the following comments from the interview and complete the statements. Statement 1.
We enjoy going to amusement parks to ride roller coasters and other crazy rides for the thrill of going at high speeds and getting turned upside down. And the list of wacky extreme sports where the adventurous face their fears, bungee jumping, skydiving, extreme skiing, seems to get longer every year. And then, of course, there are those of us, the faint of heart, who wouldn't dare do any of these things.
Statement 2.
You call this the type T analysis. What is that, and what does it tell us about human nature?
Well, it's based on the work of psychologist Frank Farley, and it's a way of studying a person's risk-taking behavior. It indicates how comfortable a person is with taking chances, living on the edge.
Statement 3.
What's the motivation for seeking thrills?
Much of it is for the adrenaline rush that comes with going right up to the edge.
Page 119. Exercise F. Word study. Adverbs of manner. Most adverbs of manner are formed by adding "ly" to an adjective.
Listen and repeat.
Confident, confidently.
Mysterious, mysteriously.
Quick, quickly.
Quiet, quietly.
Safe, safely.
Page 121. Review. Exercise A. Listen to the conversations. Complete each statement with the correct idiom or expression. Conversation 1.
Is that yours or mine?
Mine, I think. Yeah, it's my boss.
Again? That's the second time today.
I'm not going to answer it. Whatever it is, it can wait till tomorrow.
Conversation 2.
Allison?
I'm doing the laundry.
Aaron and Nancy want to get together with us Friday night.
Friday? I don't think that'll work. I have to work late.
Oh, what about Saturday?
Saturday's not great either. I've got the running club in the afternoon, and Vicky and I volunteered to raise money for the hospital in the evening.
Sunday?
Not great either. Why don't you suggest next Friday instead?
Conversation 3.
How are your classes going?
Not too bad, but there's a lot of homework.
Are you able to finish everything on time?
Definitely. It's challenging, but all in all, everything's cool.
Conversation 4.
Marie, have you finished the October report?
I'm just getting to it, Pete.
Uh-oh. Didn't Susan say she wanted everything by 4 o'clock?
I know, but I had to do some shopping after lunch. Don't say anything to her, okay? I don't want my boss to think I messed up.
Don't worry, I won't. Is there anything I can do to help?